It's February 20th, and I will call this meeting to order at 3:35 p.m. At this time, I would like for everyone to please silence your cell phones and govern yourselves accordingly. We have quite a few guests in our audience today, so we want to make sure that we give them the proper respect. At this time, Mr. Clerk, if you would, please give us a roll call.
Commissioner Crackman. Here. Commissioner Young, Greg Young, is not present at the moment, but he is in the building. Commissioner Thomas.
Present.
Commissioner John Paul Young.
Here.
Commissioner Burrell.
Here.
Commissioner Jones is absent at the moment. Commissioner Gage Watts.
Present.
Commissioner Blake.
Here.
Commissioner Atkins.
Here.
Commissioner Cothran.
Here.
Commissioner Lazarus.
Here.
And Commissioner Epperson.
Present.
And just for the record, Commissioner Jones has walked in, as has Commissioner Greg Young. So you have 12 of 12 commissioners present. That does, of course, constitute a quorum.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And a gentle reminder, please silence your cell phones. At this time, we will have the invocation by Vice President Ken Epperson, and we will have the Pledge of Allegiance by Commissioner Grace Ann Blake. Please stand.
I'll stand. I'd like to ask all gentlemen to please remove their headgear. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us for our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thou art the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
Amen.
For all veterans and active military members, it is appropriate to salute during the recitation of the Pledge of Allegiance. Please remember our POWs and MIAs. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Vice President Epperson and Commissioner Blake.
Madam President, may I say something to the audience very briefly?
Sure.
If you are here to make a comment, please fill out a comment card. Thank you. In the box by our clerk.
Mr. Clerk?
If I could ask
any agenda
everyone
additions. Do
to
you
sign
have any?
in to your voting systems. It looks like we have a few who've not registered yet. Thank you.
And Commissioners, if you did not hear him, if you have not logged into your voting systems, please log in.
Okay, and that brings us to agenda additions. I'm not aware of any agenda additions today unless you have any, Madam Chair.
No, sir, I don't have any.
Okay, that'll bring us to citizens' comments, where we do have a number of citizens' comments today. I think that they have mostly been delivered to the chair at this point. However, any citizen who does wish to address the commission on any issue other than zoning, please fill out the comment card located in the chamber foyer and return it to this box right here to my left. And individual comments are limited to 3 minutes. Of course, we also have a 15-minute per side time limit for ordinances.
And that will be a cumulative of 15 minutes on the ordinances, correct? Okay. I have the ones who are here to speak on the ordinances. You may speak at this time, or you may speak at the public hearing. So if you would like to speak during the public hearing, please signify at this time. Okay. Thank you. And that one is going to be on ordinance 6513, right?
Yes, ma'am.
If you're here to speak on ordinance 6518 and would like to speak during the public hearing, please signify by raising your hand. If you would like to speak at this time, you may speak at this time.
Can you tell us, I don't have an agenda, can you tell us the title, what the ordinance is about?
Yes, the 6518 is property standards.
Yeah, that's what I'm hearing.
Okay, would you like to speak now, or would you like to speak during the public hearing? Okay. Okay, well, when I call your name, you can come up. Okay, thank you. The first one that I have is Susan Stankey. Okay. Ms. Stankey,
Yes. Susan
welcome.
Stankey. Thank you.
Okay. If you would, please state your name for the record.
Yes, Susan Stankey.
And the subject that you're discussing is the fire hydrant, correct?
Yes.
You have 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. This has been brought to our attention actually through a video that I witnessed by Elena Odom on Facebook, and it was speaking on terms of fire on a Columbia Avenue. And this brought a great concern to me because her main concern mainly was the health of the fire hydrants and no water. The fire hydrant in a situation in inner city neighborhoods quite often are deteriorated, maybe not functioning, or they could be functioning, but yet the water source to those fire hydrants may be broken. The water main may be broken, or a supply line, or the pressure by which the water can get to that fire hydrant takes so much time that the fire becomes out of control and burns longer than it should. So my question is, are there any committees or any groups of individuals, volunteers, what kind of studies are being done to determine the health of our fire hydrants, especially in our inner cities, which being North Highlands, Highland, South Highlands, and Spring Lake, which were all inner city neighborhoods. And so we have enough battles with urban decay then to talk about fire hydrants on top of that. That begins to impact the health and well-being and the safety of our residents. And we're all the tax base. We are a major tax base in this area. So I'm just wondering if there's any kind of committee or a consideration for determining the health of our fire hydrants and the infrastructure that leads to those. And is it a privatized situation in which some cities privatize their fire hydrants' health? And or is this a city concern? And if it's a city concern, I just would like to see it populate up higher so that we who live in these neighborhoods, because we live in these neighborhoods, because we love these neighborhoods, we want to make it be safe for everyone. That's my question.
Okay, thank you so much for your comments. We cannot have back and forward dialogue at this time. However, this sounds like that it is a city issue, and I do admonish you to take the same comment to the city council. Alvin Smith.
Madam Chairman, may I just?
I didn't want to speak about fire hydrants.
Oh, no, sir. You're welcome to come up. You're coming about apartment issues? Yes.
Madam Chairman, may I just request that our administration pass that message on about the fire hydrants to the city of Shreveport?
Absolutely. Point taken.
Thank you.
Mr. Smith, if you would, please state your name for the record, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Okay, Alvin Smith. And I'm here regarding the issue of the apartment complex that I live in. And of course, we're trying to figure out where the owners are because there's no one to answer. There's no apartment manager or anything. So my question is this on a city level or is it on a parish level? Because this is all new to me and maybe I should be more involved because I tell you, it's been, we on water restriction. We pay, and I know me, I pay my rent on time every month, and I've been there for over a year and a half. So I want to find out what's actually going on. Is there anything being done, or who the owners are? Because we have no answers for any of these things. And also, is there, I mean, can the property be confiscated or what? I mean, locked down or what? Because like I said, we haven't had anybody to get in contact with. And the only reason we found out about these things is because the water department came through and put notices on everybody's door. So that's what my question is.
Okay.
What relief can we have?
Thank you so much. And Mr. Smith, before you leave, would you please, I'm not sure if you stated your name and address for the record.
Alvin Smith, 4210 Greenwood Lane,
Thank you.
apartment 306.
Thank you so much. And we're going to also ask Mrs. CEO if you would give him the information to the city council's office. Thank you. Okay. Ordinance 6513. I have 5 comment cards. And if you would like to speak at this time, when I call your name, please come forward. Justin Davis.
Public hearing.
For the public, is either you can speak for the public hearing or you can speak at this time. Public hearing. Ms. John Glover.
I need to get some clarity because I had 2 items on my ticket. One was going to be speaking to an item you all tabled on Tuesday. Though you don't provide those table items as a part of your agenda.
Correct.
Is it appropriate that I speak to that item nonetheless?
Yes, ma'am. You may speak at this time if you
That's
choose
what I
to.
wanted to do,
Okay.
to speak to that particular item.
Okay.
On Tuesday, as I listened to you all's commission meeting, I was kind of puzzled when it was that the decision was made to table Resolution 6 of 2025. I didn't understand the totality of why such was tabled. It only asked that a consideration be made for Article 2, the realigning of your agenda, where your special resolutions would not take precedence over the business of the city. But no clear conversation or comment was given whereby I could appreciate why that item was tabled. So if it is that someone can get with me, because I do know the rules, you can't speak to me directly,
Right.
but that information would be of substance for me, please. And thank you.
Prudy Coleman. Thank you. Jerry Steele. Thank you. Marla. And I can't see this last name. 8275 Sophie Lane. Okay. Thank you. Okay, this one is for 6518. Is it Janie Lipscomb?
Public hearing.
Thank you. Jeremy Taylor?
Good evening.
Good
My name
evening.
is Jeremy Taylor. My address is 516 Stone Avenue, 71101.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
Commissioners, Ordinance 6518 of 2025 is asking that for additional funding for property standards. I am requesting that some of those funds be dedicated to the properties in Highland area that contributes to the blight, ultimate sadly, structures being burned down, which proves hazardous to all.
Thank you. Charlotte Russell? Hi, Ms. Russell. Please state your name and address for the record, please.
Charlotte Russell, 533 Jordan Street, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71101.
Thank you. You have 3 minutes.
I'm here as the president of the Highland Neighborhood Association to encourage you to vote in favor of allocating these funds to property standards to assist in securing properties, specifically in our inner city, hopefully the Highland neighborhood. We've addressed fires a lot. Fires are not the only problem that result from unsecure properties in Highland. We have a significant squatter issue that I'm sure people are aware of, but there's utility theft. I watch people across the street from me steal buckets of water from Knoll Methodist with some regularity, which means they're living someplace that does not have water, which also means they don't have sewage services. It's a public health concern, and these properties really do need to be secured. And the city has told us repeatedly that they do not have the manning, the manpower, or the funding for this. So we would appreciate the Caddo Parish Commission helping with some funding. Thank you.
Thank you. William Hartman. Thank you. Teresa Egerton Scott. Okay.
My name is Teresa Edgerton Scott. I live at 549 Wilkinson, 71104. I'm going to hand this to. And I'm here to tell every one of you why Highland matters and why not sitting around and watching it deteriorate further matters to each of you. For one, historic tourism. It's a thing. People come to visit localities because of historic elements, historic structures, and they stay longer than other kinds of tourists, and they spend money locally. I'm also going to talk about this picture that's going around. This is a shed behind 660 Merrick that has actually burned twice. The second time pretty much burned it down. But it also took with it a large number of the AT&T fiber optic cables serving the neighborhood. So people were out for days. So if you worked from home, if you had a business in Highland, you didn't have service. And when I was over there and took pictures, I don't even know how many trucks were there for days. So, you know, we say business, you know, we're business friendly. We can't be burning down the infrastructure. And thirdly, I noticed when I recently paid my taxes that my parish taxes were more than my city taxes. And I would like to think that you all would support the inner city neighborhoods more than, you know, just stray dogs and stray cats, which we do have a gracious number of. But I appreciate your listening, and I certainly hope you will give this some very serious consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. William Hartman. Okay. Melody Roser.
Hi, my name's Melody Rosser. I'm a homeowner. I live at 2612 Highland Avenue, Shreveport, 71104. I'm also a small business owner in the neighborhood, and I'd like to speak to the need for Caddo Parish to address the derelict properties and the squatting issue. It is a hazard. It's a public health hazard. I have witnessed 2 properties that are so close I can watch the fire from my house burn. We had a dead body discovered in a property less than half a block from our house that was a squatter who had eventually killed himself, and it took weeks to have authorities actually come and enter that property and remove that body. It is a huge health hazard. I walk regularly the few blocks around my neighborhood, around our house. I try and report streetlights out and just keep an eye on the neighborhood. I have squatters scream inappropriate things at me from the properties that they're in. I fear for my safety walking within blocks of my own home. It is a serious health issue. I also am a small business owner, and I work in film, and I will tell you that deters film from returning to Shreveport. They do not want to return to a place that has visible hazards. I have shot more projects than I can count in Highland. but not in the last few years. So this is affecting our earning as a city, as a parish, and our public safety. Thank you.
Thank you. Elena Oldham.
Good afternoon. My name is Alana Oldham. I'm a resident and small business owner at 425 Columbia Street in Highland. I live across the street from a recent fire last month. It was a house that had been squatted, and it caught fire just after Christmas. A lot of us complained to the city and tried to get it removed, but people went into that burnt-out shell of a house, and it caught fire again. This time, it caught Bill Lindsay's house to the right of it on fire, and Miss Lula, an old lady, and all she had was her home, and now she can't live there anymore. And I interviewed her as we were helping her get out of that house and help her get some of her things, but she has nothing now. So yes, it is, I hear a lot of complaints. I'm the one that posted on Facebook about the fire hydrants, and because I was there while, it was still smoke coming from the embers. And it is a Band-Aid, but we can't have more fires happening tonight when it gets cold. We have to have an immediate problem. If we need 100,000 today to be able to stop more issues like Miss Lula becoming homeless, yes, those of us who are taxpayers, I hear people commenting on my post about this issue saying, but why should I have to pay for a homeowner who's not keeping up their property? Well, I think that a long-term solution might be something like sending a mail to all of these homeowners and telling them that they have a certain amount of time to either get that house occupied, get it sold, or the city's going to seize it. And that's the long-term plan. But until then, we're going to have to keep putting these 100,000 Band-Aids unless you want more innocent people, homeowners like Miss Lula, being homeless now because the house next to her caught fire for a second time. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, we are collectively at 13 minutes, 14 minutes for 6518 on the property standards. All others will have the additional minutes to speak during the public hearing. Do you have any new comment cards? Is it to speak now, or is it to speak during public hearing? Is it to speak at this? Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Carol Papps. I'm at 2504 Pinehurst Boulevard. And I know you've heard lots and lots of complaints about specific properties. But one of the things that I want to share with you is what some of the neighbors and our city councilman for Shreveport, and I know this is the parish, but I think y'all need to hear this because you may not know about it. Gary Brooks, this is the third meeting that I've been to on this issue. And at the other two, we talked to city officials, including the police chief and the fire chief and so forth. Last time, Gary Brooks had a piece of legislation from the state, and we all read it, and we thought, okay, this is going to give us some meat, because what the police chief has told us is that unless the property owner complains, the police cannot do anything about the vagrants that are in that house. And I think we need to get away from the word squatters, because that really is not the definition. Well, for most of these properties, the owners are on Mars, right? That's about how much chance we have of contacting them and telling them that there's a problem. You know, they might as well be, they're just missing. They're someplace else. And for the few people, I mean, there are some people who work diligently to try and contact these people. So this idea that I am looking at a house 2 doors down from me, It is empty. It is boarded up. I don't know who owns it. They obviously don't care. I see people entering that house. They stay in there. They bring their friends in there. We see them walking back and forth between empty houses and doing things. There's criminal activity going on. It's not safe. But all we get told is unless the property owner files the complaint, the police can't do anything about it. I'm really getting tired of hearing that. And so somebody, I don't care if it's the parish or the city, there's so many lawyers, I mean, somebody's got to be able to come up and draft some legislation that says that those of us who live in the neighborhood can file complaints because there are people in those empty buildings that should not be there. And that's what I want. Thank you.
Point of order, Madam President. We have reached 15 minutes collectively for 6518.
Thank you so much. The others will be heard during public hearing comments. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
All right, and that just to be clear, that concludes all other subjects of citizens' comments for this time, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you very much. I know we had a high number, I just wanted to make sure. That brings us now to visitors, where we do have two items today under visitors. The first item today is 6.1, which is a representative from Cleo Field's office. I believe today we have Lindora Baker and Quentin Ott.
All right. Former Commissioner Lindora Baker.
Correct, I should have included that
Welcome.
important detail, thank you.
Yes, and Mr. Ott.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you so very
afternoon.
much for allowing us to be here. I'm Lindora Baker. My address is 610 Texas Street in the Southern University Metro. And I'm here today just to introduce myself to you all who do not know me and may not know that Congressman Cleo Fields, the new elected congressman for District 6, now has a presence in Shreveport, Louisiana, and he has an office here, and I have been elected to be the regional representative for Congressman Fields. And just wanted to let you know that we are here to serve the District 6, and especially District 6 in North Louisiana. So those of you who have my number right now, we do not have email. We have email addresses, but we don't have computers, and we don't have cell phones yet. But those of you who have my contact number, please do not hesitate to call me, because we are here for you all, for the citizens of North Louisiana, and also for the elected officials. And thank you so very much for your services. So we just wanted to let you know that. I do have a counterpart with me, Mr. Quentin Alt. I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Thank you so much.
How you guys doing?
Hello.
My name is Quentin Alt. I know a lot of you guys. I really feel this is a great opportunity. Congressman Cleo Fields has gave me this opportunity to show that young people can have a seat at the table to bring progressive change for District 6. So we can be a liaison from Congress to our constituents within Shreveport, Louisiana. And, you know, as myself as a 25-year-old man, I love Shreveport. Like I said, I want Shreveport to be progressive in so many ways. And I want to just extend my hand to say that we can come together as one to have those collective efforts to see change for future generations to come.
Wonderful. Thank you both so much for coming down to introduce yourselves to some of us and present to others. We're very proud of your accomplishments, and we know the importance of working together. We know that collaboration matters, especially in these very precedence times that we are having. I don't have any additional questions personally, but I wanted to check with my colleagues to make sure that they didn't have any questions for you. And did you mention the meeting on tonight? Is there a town hall meeting on tonight?
Yeah, I did want to mention that. Thank you. You're all invited to come. We're doing a town hall meeting tonight at 6:30 at the 610 Metro for Southern University, and you're all invited to please come. Congressman Fields will be there to address this city, and also he will spend some time after the town hall meeting to answer questions and talk one-on-one to anyone that would like to visit with him. So yes, please do come.
Yes, thank you. Looking very forward to that, especially about hearing about those constitutional amendments.
Yes, great.
Parliamentarian Thomas.
Thank you, Madam President. That meeting is open to the public, correct?
Yes, it is open to the public.
Okay, I just want, for any viewers that were listening, if they wanted to make their way over to, and it's at 6 o'clock PM, right?
6:30.
6:30?
Yes.
6:30 PM at 610,
6:10,
at the
yes.
Allen Building at Southern
Right.
University at Shreveport?
Right, that's
Thank you.
it. Thank you.
All right.
And he's looking to do this more frequently, probably once a month per se. So he's trying to bring like I say, just trying to bring a collaboration with our city more, because he knows Shreveport is a big hub that's going to make a drastic change. So he wants to come to the table and talk to a lot of his constituents.
We appreciate that so much, of being at the table and not on the menu.
Most definitely.
That's it.
Thank you both so much. I see no other comments. You can't? Okay. Sorry. You're on the board also? Okay. I have Commissioner Grace Ann Blake, and then we'll have Commissioner John Paul Young.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to say congratulations to you both in helping our community. It was wonderful meeting you, Lindora, in
Yes,
DC.
it was. We had a great
And I
time.
can't wait to have some coffee with you.
Sounds good.
And I'm very proud of you, Quentin, and what you're doing for our community, and looking forward to working with you. Thank y'all so much for coming.
Good deal. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Blake. Commissioner John Paul Young.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you so much, both of you, for being here. I can't come to the meeting tonight. I have dinner plans, but I wanted to pass on an idea for you. You've heard many people say how desperate our blight situation is in Shreveport. That's very closely connected to affordable housing. I recently heard from a friend that all of the Eden Gardens neighborhood was built on a federal housing program called 235, which I had not really ever heard of before, but lots and lots of houses were built. And we could use federal help, not building new houses necessarily, but turning our old houses back into good houses. We have a beautiful city, and right now it is collapsing around our ears. And we have a little bit of money in the parish we want to maybe spend to help, but the federal government could make a huge difference if we had a representative fighting for affordable housing and restoration of our housing in Shreveport. It would be amazing for us. So I hope you'll pass that on to Congressman Fields.
Will do. That's a good idea. And he's absolutely right. And you're right, Commissioner Young. It's like all over the city. And I've seen the same thing happen in District 6 in Cedar Grove. It's just collapsed. So, yeah, that's a wonderful idea. Thank you so very much.
Commissioner Gregory Young.
Thank you so much, Madam President. I would just like to, thank you so much. I would just like to bring some comfort to the folks who have assembled here today and who are concerned about this issue of vacant houses and blight and so forth. I just want you all to know that one of the top things that are on the legislative agenda of this commission is to create a land bank in hopes that this land bank and how it will be designed and constructed based on our interests and our particular concerns here in Caddo, that this would go a long ways in addressing that. So if you have occasion during this year to talk to some of your representatives, please ask them to support this effort. I know since we have been crusading around this particular effort and trying to develop a coalition around it, there have been those who have kept suggesting to us that there's already an effort that is embedded within the Shreveport city government, and it has been for over a decade. Well, I attended one of those meetings that really embodied that effort, and I had to say, as someone who grew up in Shreveport and that have witnessed the ascension of this colossal blight within Shreveport, I am totally underwhelmed by the efforts that have been launched in the past. But the past is the past, and to the extent that we're raising this issue, that folks over in Shreveport are willing to take the bull by the horn and to join this effort, I think that's wonderful. It doesn't matter who gets the credit. The only thing that we're concerned about is you, as our community. And I know that there are those in our community that see the obvious impact of what's going on. But I just want to reassure you that this body has already voted and already have a bill that they're designing and working on down in Baton Rouge to be addressed, and hopefully we can get it brought into law, made into law during this legislative session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Young. Great point. Thank you for sharing that information, and that's from the Economic Development Committee.
Yes, it is.
All right. I don't see any other commissioners on the board. That will conclude our comments.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you later tonight.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. And that brings us to the next item under visitors, which is a visit from our Charter Review Committee President, Dr. Jimmy Jones.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Jimmy Jones, 401 Edward Street, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71101. I'm here representing the Charter Review Committee. This is the official report of the Caddo Parish Charter Review Committee pursuant to the provisions of Section 912 of the Caddo Parish Charter. The committee met on August 14th, September 18th, October 2nd, October 9th, October 23rd, and November 13, 2024, to consider suggested amendments to the charter. The committee voted to recommend to the commission the following amendments to the charter: adding the Department of Communications and the Department of Information Systems to the department listings. The committee also decided to submit the changes from the 2020 Charter Review Committee that have yet to have a public vote. And that concludes our amendments.
That's it? Okay. Thank you, Dr. Jones. I don't see any other, is there any commissioners that has any questions? Anyone who's, your tablet's not working? So that means you're on the board, sir? All right. I see Commissioner John Paul Young hand is raised, so I will recognize him.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you, Dr. Jones, for being here. I just wanted to make sure, you have a copy of your recommendations and the clerk has it as well?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. We'll consider those in due course and we'll be voting on them this year. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right.
Just to speak to that, we do have a binder that compiles all of their work, a digital binder that we can share with all the commissioners, so you could consider that on your next agenda if you like.
All right. We have a couple other comments, Dr. Jones, before you leave. Commissioner Roy Burrell.
Madam President, Commissioner Young, Commissioner Young basically asked what I was going to ask. Where's the information that we can review?
Thank you. Commissioner Grace Ann Blake.
I just want to say thank you so much. I attended a few of your meetings, and I know the diligence that y'all put in, and that was not an easy task. And so thank you so much for bringing this to us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Dr. Jones, we appreciate you volunteering your time and your talents with this committee. And we know that it's not an easy task, but it's one that you're certainly up for. We're looking forward to reviewing the notes and letting you know if we have any additional questions.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, next item, please.
Okay, that brings us to item 7, which is to adopt regular session minutes.
Okay. It's been moved by Commissioner Ron Carthen and second by Commissioner Stephon Jones. Commissioner Carthen, would you like to speak on your motion? Okay, Commissioner Jones?
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to move to global item 7.1, 8.1, and 8.2.
Okay, and that's been moved to englobo 7, 8.1, and 8.2 by Commissioner Stephon Jones, and that was second by Commissioner John Atkins. Commissioner Jones, would you like to speak on your substitute motion? Okay, Commissioner Atkins, okay, I see none. Please vote.
Okay, and that motion carries with 12 in support, none in opposition, and that brings us, let's see, through to communiques and committee reports.
Mr. CEO.
Good afternoon, Commissioners.
Good afternoon.
At Monday's work session, you all asked us to give an update on both the speed cameras and the war on litter. On the speed cameras, as we've stated before, we've chosen Blue Line Solutions to implement that camera system for us. The legal team is currently in the process of drafting the contract. Blue Line is currently in the process of running traffic studies on the locations recommended by both the commission and the Caddo Sheriff's Office. Based on that data, we'll determine where the cameras will actually be placed. Once we have that data, hopefully we can have these cameras installed within the 60 days after that. The public will be notified in advance of us employing these cameras. They will have notice, they will know that they are there before we begin the process. And we will notify you all of all the locations. On the war on litter, Communications developed a digital marketing campaign encouraging citizens to adopt the best practice in reducing litter. I've emailed you all this update as well as the detail of that campaign. We're also purchasing promotional items, bags that could be placed in your car, small trash cans that could be placed in your car so that citizens have a way to collect litter and not throw it on the sides of the roads. We're ordering those. We're working on the signs, just trying to identify what we'd like the signs to actually say. Public Works litter crews have begun their process to working to remove litter in the parish. We've met with the litter contractor as well as the sheriff's office to coordinate the areas and routes that we will be working. Public Works did install a camera to determine if cameras are effective in catching litterers. They were able to identify a person, and that person was arrested and charged with litter based on the data that we collected from the camera. That process did take a substantial amount of hours of research to identify the culprit, but we will research additional camera installations, including how the footage could be effectively monitored and investigated, because we're finding that time does take, it takes a lot of time to do that, as well as once that person is arrested, the process to get them convicted. So we are working through that. And as I said, I've emailed you all this report. Please contact me if you have any questions, and that concludes my report for today. I'll take any questions at this time.
Yes, we do. Thank you so much for that detailed report, and I did receive the email and responded as well. I have a few commissioners that are now lighting up on the board, but I already had started a paper trail here. So the first one is Vice President Epperson.
Ms. Bryant, as far as the speed camera locations, will they be permanent or will they be able to be moved around certain spots?
I believe they'll be permanent, but we can add locations. If we identify a location that we haven't covered, we can add that location.
Yeah, one of the most spots that I get requests from is Buncombe Road.
Buncombe Road.
79 East.
Okay.
Down to Woolworth. Also, just want to let everyone know that the war litter is still on. I don't know if we need to re-adopt that resolution, or is it long-standing, Mr. Clerk?
It does not have an expiration date.
Okay.
In fact, the initial one did, and then you did adopt a secondary one that extended it.
Okay. Also, if we would, on the intergovernmental meeting tomorrow, we want to mention that to our other governmental entities. And I think especially schools, I believe we had a resolution to ask that the schools would make sure that they have some kind of educational process as far as relating the importance of litter blight with the students in school.
Yes, sir. That is an item of discussion for the intergovernmental. Just talking about how collaboratively we can address this problem, because it's impacting all of us.
Okay. And for all of us that have, I think the last election over where we had candidates was November the 5th. I still see some political signs out on the street. And I think leaders should lead by examples. If you put those signs out, I think they should be removed, and in a punctual manner, because that is litter and blight, and it does not set a good example as to an individual that considers themselves to be a leader. And that goes for national government entities as well as our locals. Those signs are still out, and they should be picked up. Thank you.
Commissioner Ron Carthen.
Thank you, Madam President. Madam Administrator, will we or have we talked with the city of Shreveport so we can minimize any issues that we could possibly have with the cameras? Because as we know, when the city initially had their cameras, there was some snafus that they had, and I'm wondering what lessons can we learn from them as we continue to go forward?
Yes, sir. We're communicating with the city, and we're also the company that we chose is the same company. So they are very aware of the issues that came about when they implemented that system. And a lot of that too is one of the things was charging for appeals, and we won't be charging folks to appeal if they get one of these citations.
Okay, and have we worked out the actual process at this particular time? If I'm running down in the parish and I get a ticket, have we worked out how the whole process will work?
We're working with Blue Line now in developing that process, developing where they will go, as well as how they can challenge that citation should they get it.
Okay, and before the first citizen got a ticket or possibly get a ticket, because we know they are going to slow down as a result of this, they will know the rules of the game prior to actually getting a ticket,
Yes,
correct?
before we go live, we will have our process worked out. And it's, again, they will know that the cameras are up and running and working.
All right, thank you very much.
We're not trying to surprise anyone.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. Commissioner Roy Burrell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a couple of things. I wanted to get a clarification back from the administration on when are we going to get that update on the broadband? I mean, it may be a written. I know that they were supposed to come and visit, but you said that they were going to give us a written update.
I sent that email out Monday night. I can resend it, but I did send that email, and we are working with them to come up with a date that they can come before you. But the written update, I emailed it, but I'll email it again.
And did you also pass on to them that we would like an updated map on the deployment?
The map was included when the email that I sent out, a map was attached.
And that's current?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes, that's current.
All right. The second thing, I have a couple of requests for an update on animal control complaints. One on 3000 block of Essex Street, and the other one is 3926 Merwin Street.
Commissioner Burrell, let me get a representative up. Director Travis Clark or Director Samuel? Thank you.
There was a couple of texts, I forwarded
Yes, sir.
to you on those two streets, Essex Street and Merwin Street.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon. So we did remove 3 animals from Merwin and 2 from Essex.
All right, well, I'm good.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner John Atkins.
Thank you, Madam President. As Commissioner Thomas and Commissioner John Paul Young will appreciate, given that Centenary doesn't Centenary split y'all's 2 districts? Centenary has delivered 200-year bicentennial beads to all the people around the horseshoe, and I just wanted to make sure you all saw those and received them and knew that Centenary forwarded those to you all to recognize the 200th anniversary of the college. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Happy Mardi Gras. Commissioner Victor Thomas. Okay. You're going to yield to Commissioner John Paul Young?
Did you want to go? Okay. Thank you, Madam President. I did want to announce this Saturday at the Bill Cockrell Community Center in Commissioner Burrell's district. I just got this information today. There is a Heart, Health, and Hustle. If you didn't know, February is American Heart Month. I found out about that last Tuesday was Go Red for Cherry Day. Cherry was an individual who died at 38 years old of congestive heart failure at 38 years old. So that's something that you guys definitely want to reach out and go there to be educated, empowered, and entertained as well. Once again, it's going to be this Saturday at 9 a.m. at the Bill Cockrell Community Center, rather. And I also want to say that I do echo my colleague John Paul Young's concerns regarding the houses, the vacant houses in our districts. He and I have been in communication with a group, Reform Shreveport. They are having, they'd really love to have more people involved as well. Reform Shreveport will be having a community meetup on next Wednesday, February the 26th at 5:30. That's going to be at the 7th Tap. That's going to be at 2640 Linwood Avenue. I encourage each and every one of you to please go out. Here's some of the works that they're doing in the community. They really have some great plans to try to revitalize Shreveport, not only just on a neighborhood basis, but as a whole. I think a lot of the things that have been spoken today about what we can send to our federal representatives, especially those at our state that Commissioner Gregory Young talked about with the land bank, I think a lot of those would directly benefit the efforts of Reform Shreveport. And once again, I implore everyone to please come out Wednesday, February the 26th, 2025 at 5:30 at the 7 Tap, 2640 Linwood Avenue. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Parliamentarian Thomas. Commissioner John Paul Young.
Thank you, Madam President. Ms. Bryant, I just want to say, and maybe you can answer for the many people in the audience, the $100,000 that we're considering allocating for blight improvements in our city. Many of those dollars can be deployed for our war against litter. Do you agree?
Yes.
Okay, and that would be the first investment of cash that we would be making in our war against litter, which we have declared, but we have not deployed any troops yet, right?
Oh, I mean, our public works crews are working and
They're working, but these would be our first specific allocations for the war against litter type issue. So I just want everyone in the audience to know, like, you're here for a good reason. Thank you for being here. And regarding the cameras, I just want to repeat, I don't like surveillance. I don't like surveillance cameras. I voted against these cameras. However, everybody in my district in Dixie Gardens wants these cameras extremely desperately because people speed so ridiculously fast down their street. So I support them, even though I don't like having cameras everywhere. Thank you.
Commissioner Vice President Epperson.
Yes, ma'am. I'd like to announce that Proper Pines Road Area Business Association will be meeting on Monday, February 24th, 6 o'clock p.m. at the Grace Point Church of the Nazarene, 6825 Pines Road. Our guest will be Mike Spence from the Clerk of Court's Office of Caddo Parish and Regina Webb, our tax assessor. We're going to give some valuable information to the businesses and homeowners relative to that. The protocol is from 6 until 6:45. It's open to the general public, and from 7 o'clock until it's open to the paid membership. We have some wonderful things that's going on from Monkhouse East to Highway 80 to the Texas line west to Bethany south and to the south side of Cross Lake and South Lake Shore Drive. We are concerned about making sure that we bring that area into economic fruition, commercially as well as residentially, and we invite everyone that would like to be present to come and be a part of it. Also, Madam Administrator, I saw a news report that the Louisiana Health is not going to be promoting mass vaccinations, and that concerns me because I think there's a measles outbreak in Texas, and of course we're neighbors. The Head Start program, I know that there's a protocol for kids to get vaccinated. Our public school systems, as well as universities, as far as vaccinations that should be received. So I don't know what the situation is now with the persons that's over our region of the Department of Health. It was Dr. Martha White, and if she's still in position or something, could you contact her and see if we can get some information relative to that?
Yes, sir.
Because she was very instrumental in our Public Safety Committee making sure that when the COVID pandemic came out and things of that nature, as for sexual transmitted diseases and all those things. So we need to make sure that our people are informed, because it's just unconscionable to me that someone would want to get their kids vaccinated for something like measles. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Commissioner Roy Burrell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I still have a couple of things. There's an annual Pillsbury Black History Program on tomorrow, Friday at the 21st at noon. It's normally a very nice event for any of my colleagues that would like to come out to Pillsbury Park. The second thing is the Promise of Justice event. They have community training. Promise of Justice is an organization that advocates for wrongly incarcerated individuals. As you know, many of our laws in the state has been revised, and people need to know, for their loved ones who have been wrongly incarcerated, that they can come out and get training. So that will be at 5000 Greenwood Road. And that is February 27th. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Stephon Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. Just wanted to give an update. I'd like to make sure that I'm thorough with anything I speak passionately about. Many of you heard my heart on Tuesday concerning Section 504. I did see an update from the Attorney General's office concerning that. It seems to be that there's going to be a more direct approach versus the blanket approach that they were taking initially with removing Section 504. And according to the Attorney General, she is working closely with the current administration to make sure that they focus on the exact language of the law that they want to make sure that they remove, and that she does stand with all special needs and disability citizens, disabled citizens, to make sure that those protections are not affected in any way. And so I like to be fair. I don't want to just fuss at people, but she did give an update after a lot of outrage came out, not just from myself, but many people across the state on social media and other avenues. It's really important to make sure that all citizens are taken care of, especially those who cannot do for themselves. And so I am appreciative and I'm thankful for our Attorney General for hearing the outcry and making sure that she is addressing it in such a way that it would not affect the protections for those citizens. And so I did want to give that update concerning what I spoke on Tuesday. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. I'll speak more on this shortly. Commissioner Gregory Young.
Thank you again, Madam President. I would just like to take the personal privilege to recognize one of my brothers in arms out there, the gentleman with the U.S. Army hat on. Just Mark, his name is Mark. Navy. Well, Navy's good. Navy's good. Navy's good. Well, in the words of Douglas MacArthur, old soldiers never die. They just fade away. And I think there's a saying that the Navy has popularized. Is it simplify? Marines? All right, there you go. We're going to get there. But I want you to know I do appreciate it, especially in light of some of the pressures been placed on veterans and their benefits. I just want you to know that I got you. Appreciate you. Thank you for your service. All right, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Commissioner Victor Young. I'm sorry, Commissioner Victor Thomas.
That's okay. I know you've been calling a lot of names, Madam President. That's okay. The young Victor Thomas.
Victor
Thank you.
Thomas, the parliamentarian.
I just wanted to, Madam Administrator, if you could make a note for us to have a discussion regarding State Farm R1040 that deals with the exemption of the collection of sales tax from nonprofits. I did get a message from one of my constituents about that, and I'd like to have a conversation with you about that. We may need to put some information out to the public regarding that. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
All right. Second time around, Vice President Everson.
I couldn't let this pass. I don't know how many of you remember Lord Leonard, one of our most stoutest conservative commissioners. And the gentleman stated that he's Navy can-do. But Lord Leonard's favorite deal was, and we was discussing the budget, was that we're spending money like a drunken sailor on leave. Thank you.
Thank you.
If there,
Mr. CEO, in response to the items that you mentioned, I wanted to publicly thank you for the information that I asked you about for this transaction report, that up to about $51,000 has been spent to date for the wheelchair ramp program and about $40,000 for the relocation assistance.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Grayson, you have another question for administration? Communiques? Okay. The chair recognizes you.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to share that every one of us up here is very empathetic to the situation of blight, the fires, the vacant properties that are used for shelter, drug use, and for crime activity. And that some of us are business owners who we're dealing with the same issues in our districts that the women brought up. Of what the next level is that there's immediate issues with income, and it's affecting us in so many different levels every single day. And I wanted to take that opportunity to share that the Shreveport Police Department does have a program for businesses specifically that you can request to have signage that's placed on your business that states that they have the right to come and take care of any trespassers, anyone loitering, and that if we could possibly, Madam Administrator, make sure that the two women that stated they were business owners, that we could get them that information, and that we make sure that we have a sign. I have one actually at my business that if we need to present that John Paul could take to the next meeting, that they could start sharing with at the Highland Historic Restoration Group, I'm sure, and the neighborhood associations, that they have a copy. And maybe if we could accumulate a list of our business associations and homeowner associations within our districts, I'll be glad to take them personally and make sure they have them. It is gives me a little bit of peace of mind because that is, well, I see some heads are shaking, but at times it does come in handy. They have a list, so they do know how to immediately handle the situation. And so there are some legal matters that we're up against and that we have parameters, and the first step is to get your business recognized. And today I'm going to go meet with Cleo Field's office, and there's some federal things that can be done. We can start with legislation, and if we have any properties that are being used as Airbnbs, these are businesses, and we can request and ask legislation to work on behalf that there's a requirement that you have to post signage for properties that are being used as business. So I think that there's some things that we can do to think out of the box. So I just wanted to say thank you for coming, and I hope that y'all will continue and go to the city council meeting. If it means that you take turns and you go regularly to the city council meeting, a lot of this is city issues so that our hands are tied to some degree. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Commissioner Blake. Commissioner Carthen, would you? Okay. I don't see anyone else on the board for any additional comments to the administration, communiques, or reports. Okay, next item, Mr. Clerk.
Yes, ma'am. This is President's report, and I believe you had an item that you had requested.
Yes, I do. Before you read that one into the record, I just wanted to ask our chair of the Personnel and Policies to call a meeting before our next work session meeting. If you would, please get with the clerk to call a meeting. And also for our chair of the Juvenile Justice Committee to call a meeting before our next work session. And then before you read that statement, that letter into the record, I just wanted to make some comments on some of the discussion we've been having about neighborhoods and the issues that are long going and have been going on for quite some time. For the last 10 and a half years that I've been around this horseshoe, I've made a lot of comments about things that happen per se in the district that I represent. Caddo Parish collectively, as I stated on Tuesday, we all have those same sentiments that we want to see things happen with inside the inner city because we understand that you elected us. You didn't elect us as city representatives, but you elected us as parish representatives. Though we're two separate entities, you don't want to hear that. All you want to hear is you're the person that I voted for, you want something to take place. It's very important for us to be able to continue to have a very positive, good working relationship together. And respectfully, we had the administration who gracefully sent their attorney along with representatives from the Shreveport Police Department that shared valuable information with us to make sure that we would disseminate it to our constituents. And one of the things that Commissioner Blake mentioned was the signage and how it gives them authority with your permission to go onto these properties. Discussions like this are advantageous for us to continue to move in the right direction. This is government. This is democracy that each one of us who are sitting around this horseshoe apparently believe in because we accepted the oath. But we ask that you would work with us, and we want to do things decent and in order. This is not just for one district, but this is for all districts. I appreciate each of you coming out because this is the People's Chamber, and we respectfully want to hear from you always. I encourage anyone who is listening out there who is dealing with the same type of issues, including crime, that has polluted our communities, to please come down here so that we can hear from you. Because I will speak on your behalf, but it's always just as important when my colleagues can hear from other representatives like yourselves. So at this time, I will ask my clerk to read my response to our Attorney General for the 504.
Yes, ma'am. This is a letter from Caddo Parish Commission President Stormy Gage Watts, and it reads, Dear Attorney General Merle, I am writing to you in my capacity as the President of the Caddo Parish Commission to respectfully request that Louisiana withdraw from the lawsuit challenging the constitutionality of Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. As a mother of a child with medical needs, I understand firsthand the critical importance of the protections and services provided by Section 504. This vital legislation ensures that approximately 62,000 students in Louisiana and their families receive the accommodations and support they need to thrive academically and socially. Joining this lawsuit has caused unnecessary stress, anxiety, and uncertainty for families who are already managing the complex challenges of raising children with special medical and educational needs. I recognize that the impetus behind this lawsuit appears to be concerns surrounding the protection of gender dysphoria under Section 504. However, it is important to note that gender dysphoria has been removed from the list of protected conditions. Continuing to participate in this legal action risks undermining the broader essential protections that Section 504 provides to thousands of Louisiana students with disabilities. I'm not alone in my concerns. Shreveport City Council Chair Tabitha Taylor, State Representative Joy Walters, and several of my colleagues on the Caddo Parish Commission who have offered to co-sign this letter stand with me in advocating for the well-being of our most vulnerable residents. We believe that Louisiana's inclusion in this lawsuit is not the best interest of our children and places an undue burden on families already navigating significant challenges. We respectfully urge you to reconsider Louisiana's participation in this lawsuit and to prioritize the needs and rights of the students and families who rely on Section 504 protections. Thank you for your attention to this matter. We look forward to your thoughtful consideration and hope for a positive resolution. Signed sincerely, Stormy Gage Watts, President of the Caddo Parish Commission.
Thank you, Mr. Clerk. And I invite any of my colleagues who would like to join me on this letter. You are more than welcome. Just let the clerk know. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Vice President Everson.
I'd like to be added to the letter.
Thank you.
Here, here.
Commissioner Stephon Jones. Thank you.
Samuel, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Commissioner Carthorne. Okay, got you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would you
Next
like
item, please.
to go to the next item now?
Yes.
Okay. That brings us to a public hearing on zoning ordinances and cases, where we do have 2 items today scheduled. Would you like me to read both of them and then open one public hearing?
Yes, please.
Okay. That is 11.1 is a public hearing for ordinance 6514 of 2025. That's in regards to case 24-39-P. That's an ordinance to amend Volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located on the west side of Dean Road, approximately 800 feet south of Green Terrace Road in Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from RA, Rural Agricultural Zoning District, to R17, Single Family Residential Zoning District, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. That item is in District 6. The next item for consideration in today's public hearing is a ordinance 6515 of 2025. That's in relation to case 24-45-P. That's an ordinance to amend Volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located on the north end of David Rains Road and Audrey Lane. That's in Caddo Parish, Louisiana, changing that zoning from RA, Rural Agricultural Zoning District, to R17, Single Family Residential Zoning District, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. That item is in District 2.
All right. I declare this public hearing open on ordinance number 6514 and 6515. Is there anyone here to speak in favor or against either ordinance?
Point of information, Madam Chairman.
Yes.
This ordinance 6515,
Yes.
it's my desire to have it returned to the PZC. Is this the appropriate time to make this observation? Do I need to do it?
In the final passage.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay. Seeing no other, I declare this public hearing on ordinances number 6514 and 15 closed.
Thank you very much. That will bring us to our public hearing on regular ordinances, where we have 3 items scheduled for public hearing today. The first, would you like me to open one public hearing? Would you like to open one public hearing for all 3 of these or do them separately?
I would like to open a public hearing for all 12.1, 12.2, and 12.3.
Okay, I will read them into the record now, and then if you'll open that public hearing, that would be great. Public hearing ordinance 6513 of 2023 is an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Capital Outlay Fund to change an appropriation from the construction and improvement of Greenwood water lines to construction of the Dawson Road extension. The next item is 12.2, a public hearing for ordinance 6516 of 2025. That's an ordinance to close and abandon an unnamed public dedication in the Northwood Hills subdivision located in Section 35, Township 19 North, Range 15 West in the Parish of Caddo, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. The third item is a public hearing for ordinance 6518 of 2025. That is an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Solid Waste Fund and the Riverboat Fund to provide an additional appropriation for property standards and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
All right. At this time, I would like to open the public hearing for ordinance 6513, 6516, and 6518. Is there anyone here to speak in favor or against? And I do have several comment cards, and I will call them by name. And as I call you, please come forward, state your name and address for the record. The first one I have is Mr. Mark. Welcome, Mr. Mark. I'm really good with really great handwriting, but I cannot figure out this last name. So please state your
Dickerson,
name.
Dickerson.
All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I knew you'd have a problem. My name is Martin Dickerson. I live at 8275 Sophie Lane, Greenwood, Louisiana. I'm here to oppose moving the funds from Greenwood water supply. We need them funds desperately to rebuild our system, to help build our tanks that are desperately falling apart. If you could, keep the money in Greenwood, I appreciate it. Y'all have a great day.
Thank you. The next one I have is Jerry Steele.
Good evening. How you doing?
Good evening. Mr. Steele, if you would, state your name and address for the record.
My name is Jerry Steele. I live at 7216 Windburn Drive, Greenwood, Louisiana. I'm Alderman of District 2, and I'm here in opposition of 6513 of reallocating funds that was already allocated to upgrade Greenwood water system.
Thank you. Prudy Coleman.
Hello. My name is Prudy Coleman, 8311 B Lane, Greenwood, Louisiana. I am here to speak in opposition of ordinance number 6513 of 2025. We have a couple that's with us that did not want to speak. Her husband had to leave out because of a coughing spell, but I'd like for her to raise her hand and her be not acknowledged. I understand the concerns of the residents on Dawson Road. However, I urge you to vote no on this ordinance due to the reallocation of $750,000 that was designated for the town of Greenwood in ordinance 6014 of 2020. I look forward to Mayor Davis working with y'all and collaborating to bring betterment to Greenwood and the rural area in Caddo Parish. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. John Glover.
John Glover, Commissioners, 9100 Walker Road, Apartment 217, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71118. When I first read this legislation, I became concerned. I became concerned so much so that I did some homework. And in doing the homework, I learned a lot of information that gave me more insight into what is going on with this particular legislation. I do note and notice that an effort was made to address this same project, the Dawson Road situation, but it was also turned down. Now, my concern was, how is it that a $750,000 reallocating of those dollars can compare to a price tag that was back then in 2015, $3.9 million. And with a 15-year period, it would go as high as $7.9 million. Now, though both may be crucial, and I did hear some residents speak about Dawson Road and the things that they met, but I also understand too that when we're going to make a decision to reallocate funds, we need to make sure we're doing it in the best interest of all of the citizens. When you have 51, as the article said that I shared with each of you all in an email, 51 residents on Dawson Road compared to 1,500 who will utilize the services of those water lines in the town of Greenwood, one still has to ask what's really going on. Again, if that price tag is in the millions, what will $750,000 do for the millions? It makes little to no sense. So if there's something that I'm missing with doing my homework, then I ask you all to correct me, because I don't want anyone to believe that my intent and purpose is other than making sure that we're doing the best for all citizens in Caddo Parish. And because there are two groups of people we're dealing with regards to what we're doing, reallocating those $750,000 from Dawson Road project, from the town of Greenwood water lines project to Dawson Road. I just really need to understand, how is it that such can be shaped whereby those dollars will indeed meet the needs of those residents all together. Thank you.
Thank you. The last card that I have for ordinance 6513 is Justin Davis. Mayor Justin Davis.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
So
welcome.
for those that don't know, Justin Davis, 9381 Greenwood Road, Greenwood, Louisiana, 71033. For those that don't know, I'm the mayor for the town of Greenwood. I come here today first and foremost, I want to express my gratitude to the parish attorney, Ms. Frazier, also to Commissioner Ken Epperson, and to Assistant Administrator Walker. Thank y'all for meeting with me in our meeting that we had a week or so ago. I do appreciate that and having that discussion regarding the essential needs for the Greenwood water system. Our conversation highlighted the importance of reallocating the funds from Ordinance 6014 of 2020 toward a project that aligns better with the current priorities of the Greenwood water system. I look forward to working with the Commission to ensure we achieve our objectives in a manner that benefits all parties involved. Therefore, I respectfully ask you to vote no on Ordinance 6513 of 2025 in order to maintain the funding allocated for the Greenwood water system. Thank you for your attention in this matter.
Thank you, sir. I don't have any other cards for 6513. I don't want to omit anyone for 6516. I don't have any cards for that. Is there anyone here to speak in favor or against 6516? Right. This time I'll be moving to ordinance 6518 cards. Cleveland Moulton.
Good evening. How are y'all?
Good evening.
Cleveland Mouton III, 344 Boulevard Street, Shreveport, Louisiana, 71104.
Thank you.
I just want to speak to that. I hope that you all are in favor. Like they stated, there are several properties, and not just within the Highland area, but across Shreveport. I happen to live next door to one that burned down, 358 Boulevard, which is two houses on that one lot. I called, I emailed, I messaged, I tagged Facebook, everything we could do to possibly save that home before it caught on fire. I knew it would be one of the next ones, and eventually it was. And so those two properties burned. They burned my neighbor's house as well. And so we're just working to try to save our neighborhood, save our street. We appreciate our commissioner. He's always out there assisting us in cleaning up the block and everything. So we just hope that you all continue to make sure that when we say we love Shreveport, we truly mean that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mouton. William Hartman.
Hi,
Hi.
William Hartman. I live at 1031 Dudley Drive in Shreveport. I'm here on behalf of the Highland neighborhood. I am the executive director of Revitalize Historic Highland.
Thank you.
And I am in support of 6418. Is that it?
That's correct.
And as you've heard, the issue is really extreme in Highland. There are a lot of reasons why Highland is getting the brunt of this damage done by homeless people, but it's happening all across the city, in Allendale, Lakeside. It's happening everywhere. But people within the city government do care. They know what the issues are. They are making efforts to work with social service agencies, the police department, the fire department. They're getting together with people in the neighborhood to try to address the problem. However, basically everyone's hands are tied because there's this law that says you can't do this, there's that law that says you can't do that. And so ultimately, what needs to happen is legislation to change the way the laws are structured. And it's probably going to have to happen at the state level. Other states, Alabama has done a good job. They passed legislation at the state level that helped Mobile address very similar problems that Shreveport is now facing. So I think you starting to pass a legislation that is at least directing monies to address this problem is a first step. I think we need to work with our local representatives at the state level to try to make something happen. I'm sure you would get support from people in New Orleans and Baton Rouge. They already have some very well organized land banks. There is one in Shreveport that's just now getting underway. That's not a way to deal with this particular issue, the land bank, but we have to change the laws so that you don't have multiple limited liability companies that are tied to one entity, to one person who owns, I believe, close to 600 properties within Caddo Parish. And it is nearly impossible to track down who the actual owner is. And it is beyond me how these investment entities can lay down money on a property in the city of Shreveport and then just let it rot. I don't know what finance mechanisms are in place that they use, but something has to happen because Highland is a historic neighborhood. It is the historic heart of the city outside of the downtown core. And if we just let it go, and you hear people all the time say, well, if you live in Highland, you deserve what you get. That is so wrong. And we have to let everyone know that we care and we have to do something about it. So I support this legislation.
Thank you, Mr. Hartman. Jamie Lipscomb.
Janie Lipscomb, 490 Ockley, Shreveport, 71105. Many of y'all have heard from me about the change in the Alabama's law that helped save Mobile, Alabama eliminated 75% of their blight in 2 years when they changed the law. Apparently it's very difficult to get a clear, clean, quick title for properties. And I've asked virtually every person imaginable, anyone that will open an email, to talk to our legislators because apparently this has to be changed at the state level. I went to Mobile, Alabama and talked to the mayor there. And this was what they had to do, and y'all would know better than I what needs to be done appropriately. But we only have people who are slumlords buying property, adjudicating property, and letting it sit around 4, 5, 6, 7 years. Then they become an LLC, and it continues that way. We need people who will come in and buy a home and renovate it and have some tax abatements and so forth to rebuild our neighborhoods. And if it has to be happened at a state level, then y'all are the people who have the power to create that. I've done this. I've been talking about this for 10 years. I've been torturing some of these folks for 10 years. And I have all that information right here. I've sent it time and time again, but someone has to take the step that creates the solution. Please do it.
Thank you so much. I don't have any additional comment cards. Is there anyone else to speak in favor or against on any of these ordinances? Is that former Commissioner Matthew Lynn? We'll get a comment card from you shortly. Welcome.
Hello, thank you. It's wonderful to see y'all. I was going to say
Okay.
something that hadn't been said. Matthew Lynn, 616 Kings Highway. To my understanding and memory, the parish receives a millage of 5.89 from property within the city of Shreveport. Is that close to correct?
Parish has multiple millages in the city of
Right,
Shreveport.
no,
So I don't
just
know.
that goes to the parish commission solely. I know that there's multiple millages, but the parishes, I believe, is 5.89. So as these properties burn, as the city burns across our area, y'all are losing tax money. And I ask that at some point you extinguish that fire and you regain your money and do something in whatever pathway that you would like to do to instill ownership responsibility for these property owners so that people are not scared to attend Centenary College, so that property values, not just in Highland, but South Highland, Broadmoor, and everywhere, Queensboro, Cedar Grove, that all of these neighborhoods, that there is some safety created for the people that choose to live there, because people have a choice. They can talk with their feet and they can move, and a lot of people do. But we need to keep that tax base in Caddo Parish, and Caddo Parish does receive tax revenue from the Highland neighborhood. Anyway, thank you for your time.
Thank you. Mr. Lynn. All right, seeing no one else, I declare the public hearing on ordinance 6513, 6516, and 6518 closed. Next item, Mr. Clerk.
That brings us to zoning ordinances for final passage. And the first item you have today is ordinance, that's ordinance 6514 of 2025. That's in relation to case 24-39-P. That is an ordinance to amend volume 2 of the Volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located on the west side of Dean Road, approximately 800 feet south of Green Terrace Road, Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from RA Rural Agricultural Zoning District to R17 Single Family Residential Zoning District, and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
I have a motion by Commissioner Stephon Jones and second by Commissioner Victor Thomas. Commissioner Jones, would you like to speak on your motion?
No, ma'am.
All right, Commissioner Thomas.
No, ma'am.
Thank you. Seeing none other, please vote.
All right, and that motion carries with 12 in support, none in opposition, and brings us to our next item today, which is the consideration of ordinance 6515 of 2025 in relation to case 24-45-P. That is an ordinance to amend Volume 2 of the Code of Ordinances of the Parish of Caddo as amended, the Caddo Parish Unified Development Code, by amending the zoning of property located on the north end of David Rains Road and Audrey Lane in Caddo Parish, Louisiana, from RA Rural Agricultural Zoning District to R17 Single Family Residential Zoning District, and otherwise providing with respect thereto.
Okay, I have a motion by Commissioner Gregory Young
Yes.
and second by Commissioner Ron Carthen. Commissioner Young, would you like to speak on your motion?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Madam President. I think it's appropriate at this point to ask my peers to reject this particular ordinance in its form and return it back to the PZC for further consideration.
Okay. Would you like to speak on that motion? It's already been moved in a second. Would you like to speak on it?
Yes, we've kind of been enduring this process ever since they came up before the PZC. The investors, they're more than willing. In fact, they're excited to do what the people in the community want them to do, and that is provide guarantees that indeed they're going to come into the community and develop this property for home purchasing and not simply for rental property. And they don't have a problem at all with placing that particular condition in the rezoning of this property. And in fact, he sent myself a letter, and I think the director of the MPC also may have received that information. Is that consistent with you, Ms. Clark? Right, and so this is inarguable. There is no hostility here. There is no misunderstanding. It's pretty much a fait accompli. So if we can just send it back to the PZC and place this conditional rezoning on this property, then I believe they won't have any problem with approving it, and then it will be turned back to us for final approval. And I would like to ask everyone to support my measure.
Thank you for your point, Commissioner Young. Commissioner John Atkins.
Just a matter of helping me understand. So we couldn't pass it and put that contingency on place after passing. It needs to go back through the PZC.
Yes, so with.
I'm sorry, I should have addressed my question to the chairman.
You're fine.
Right.
And I will yield to the attorney for any additional comments, but this was from our previous meeting, and this was the protocol that was established to move it forward.
Thank you. I'm fine. Thank you. Okay, thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
I yield back.
Commissioner Roy Burrell.
Okay, maybe this is what maybe this is what John just asked, but when the zoning is completed, it would have in there that it has to be some ownership in it.
Yes.
In order to be built.
Yes, so, yes, sir. This is, initially I inquired of council in this regard, and also had communications with the director of the Metropolitan Planning Commission. And of course, I think subsequent to that, he spoke with council, and this is going to be called a conditional zoning approval. And if there's anything that's not consistent with what I've been saying in your understanding, Madam Attorney, if you would come in on that.
No, everything's consistent so far.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. See no other comments on the board?
So you asked to vote against it?
Yes, sir, we're going to vote against it.
Actually, the way your motion is structured is to remand it to the PCC. It would be in the affirmative, so you could vote for this.
Yes. So we're going to, just so I understand, so everybody will understand.
Right. If your intention is to remand it, you would vote yes.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
And Commissioner Blake, it looks like it didn't lock your vote in. Good. Thank you. And that item passes with 12 in support, none in opposition. And that item is to be remanded to the PZC. That brings us now to our next item of business, which is ordinances for final passage. And the first item under ordinances for final passage is Ordinance 6513 of 2025. That is an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the capital outlay fund to change an appropriation from the construction and improvement of Greenwood water lines to construction of the Dawson Road extension.
Okay. All right. The board is clear now. There you go. Okay. It's been moved by Vice President Epperson, and it's been seconded by Commissioner Roy Burrell. Vice President Epperson, would you like to speak on your motion?
Yes, ma'am. First of all, I would like
Your mic.
make the point known that this isn't about taking something from the town of Greenwood. This is about adding something for the extension of Dawson Road. Mr. Clerk, do you have that that photo to put on the board?
I believe I do have access to it. One moment.
Where you can go. I want to refer you to the parish's charter, Article 2.
I'm sorry, that's a...
Section 2-05, special powers. The parish government shall have the right, power, and authority to pass all ordinances requisite or necessary to promote, protect, and preserve the general welfare, safety, health, peace, and good order of the parish, including, but not by way of limitation, the right, power, and authority to pass ordinances on all subject matters necessary. So this is what we are doing on behalf of the Dawson Road extension. If you see that photo, I think that's looking east from Jolly Napier. You have a bridge just before you get to Dawson Road. And then you get to Dawson Road to your right, then you have another bridge once you pass Dawson Road. Completely flooded. One way in, one way out. These people have a right for public safety, the same as the charter provided me that I would do the same thing to the Greenwood water system. And I want to, I got a copy of my platform when I run for commission in District 12 in 2007. I was term limited in 6, moved to District 12 in 2003. My reputation, I guess, perceived me because I still got calls as though I was the commissioner for that particular area. So after that, almost a 3-year period of time, I decided to put my hat in the ring. And one of my stipulations that I added, and one of the commitments that I added, that I would cooperate with other government entities to provide an abundant supply of safe, clean drinking water, which during the period of time that I was elected and took office in 2008 as Commissioner of District 12, have provided funds to the town of Greenwood for, I think, police vehicles, provided funds to the town of Greenwood for the water system, which is still operating today. I think provided bulletproof vests, provided that. Mayor went through 4 mayors, Mayor Hanson, Mayor Stavich, Brad Edwards, a good relationship with all. But the thing about this legislation that I'm moving the funding from that particular legislation is that legislation stated was for to provide $750,000 for the extension of the water line down Highway 169, which would have served the Roland Ridge community, which they had a little small private water and sewer system in place, as well as to go forward more closely down to Buncombe Road and 169, which has been developing quite rapidly to provide service for them. Now let's bear in mind that the town of Greenwood is a municipality that is fully incorporated, has a government, elected government, mayor, alderman, and Madam Attorney, a municipality, they can tax, they can set fees, they can bond and get indebtedment, am I right? Yes, sir. For their operations? Dawson Road is totally within an unincorporated area of the parish of Caddo, which is my main purview of making sure that I advocate on behalf of the unincorporated areas the same as I do as any other government entity. And we have expended funds for the city of Shreveport and other entities in cooperative endeavors. So the thing that we are voting on here today, since we've tried several other means, which we had opposition against. We had opposition at AP SWEPCO, didn't want us to go across their property. Now we have Resilient Way that's been built, about $4 million of public funds, $2 million of which was Caddo Parish fund to build that road to a certain extent. We looked at it, we saw that we could go slightly west of AAP property, and there's about a 300-foot right-of-way where we won't encroach on the AP property, and the security of their facility will still be be in place. It would allow access not only to the Dawson Road residents, but also Jolly Napier and individuals that's coming north and east of Dawson Road from Jefferson Page Road. That area is growing very nice. Pinchback Park has a lot of activity. This would be an issue that will provide for the public safety, the health, and well-being of that particular area. And I find it unconscionable that we could sit up and make a differentiation against those people in that area that bought land out there. I even had someone tell me they shouldn't have bought out there. But do you know that when those people bought that property, that was the only place that they could buy? They couldn't buy in Broadmoor. They couldn't buy on Fairfield, even if they had the means to do so, because you know what the social and economic status of this time. And we're talking about putting in place, they have to have an economic proponent that the thing would pay for itself. Are we valuing the life of individuals who did the best that they could with what they had during that period of time? Well, that was the only place that they could purchase property? And we saying that they don't deserve the same rights or the same means of being, having convenience, health, and safety as the Southern Loop? And if you do a comparative analysis about a survey, who do you think is going to get the survey in their favor? The residents on Dawson Road or the residents on Southern Loop? It's a moral situation. It's a health. It's safety. The Dawsons, whom that road is named after. Brother Byron, an NFL player, moved back home to coach at Centenary College. His father, Mr. Wilbur Dawson, a prominent minister, a civic leader within this area. Mr. John Pettaway Jr., whom we named Dinkins Road after, World War II veteran. He could be the greenskeeper and a porter at Shreveport Country Club, but whether he had the means to purchase property over in Country Club Hills in that day, no. So to this day, they are still being punished. Their lives are not as important because of one way in, because the homes may not be as fine as they are at Cherry Hill or South Winds. What if Cherry Hills or South Winds had one way in and was flooded? Both of those subdivisions have gated communities, one way in and one way out. Now, I'm going to tell you what I did. All of the emails that were sent out had the persons wanted to communicate and have concerns with me with all those emails that they sent out opposing this. The reason for this is that that particular ordinance was to extend the water line down Highway 169 south toward Buncombe Road, where it could serve more people. So therefore, the persons that were in leadership at that particular time did not accept the parameters on it. And all we asked was that that they would have a citizen advisory committee. Do you know that some of the accounts in the NGOs that we fund now for $5, $10, $15, $20,000, they're cooperative endeavors. There are stipulations that's placed on them. They have to have receipts. They have to have specificity as to what they're going to spend the funds for. So it's no different with a government entity. We worked hard to get the funds that we have here in Caddo Parish, especially in that oil and gas reserve account. Commissioner Mike Thibodeau and myself formed the oil and gas account and reserve trust account so we can make sure that we were very prudent with the taxpayers' dollars. I sent the email out on February the 7th, 2025 at 12:52 p.m. to Mayor Davis. I stated, Mayor Davis, this email is to confirm our meeting on Monday, February 10th, 2025, 10 o'clock a.m., Government Plaza, 505 Travis Street, 8th floor, Commission Conference Room. Please bring the following information: names and official email addresses of all aldermen for the town of Greenwood, the town of Greenwood's 2024 and 2025 budget, the town of Greenwood projected improvements to the water distribution system for 2024, 2025, and beyond. Good leadership should have capital improvements and projections in the futures. How are the funds going to be generated? Will the revenue exceed the expenses? List of improvements to the Greenwood water system that the parish funding will be used for. List of any pending grants for funding that the town of Greenwood had received or applied for. Has the town of Greenwood annexed any property, increasing the logistical locations of which water and sewer will be required for services from the present water and sewer systems? 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, 2024. Has the town of Greenwood increased fees for water or placed a tax initiative to the residents or users of the water system for 2020 or 2024? Does the town of Greenwood have a plan in place for perpetual and preventive maintenance of the water system? Please provide a copy. Just common sense information and requests asking of the leadership to bring to the table with the assistant administrator, the parish attorney, and myself, because the items that was listed by Mayor Davis, the date that he come down, were totally different from the original ordinance, which was only to expand the water line down Highway 169 south toward Buncombe Road to include Roland Ridge and any homes that's within that projected area, plain and simple. I think they had an attorney come down and say, we aren't going to adhere to this. We don't want the commission dipping into our business. The commission isn't going to run the town of Greenwood. That's not an option. That's what we require of any persons that we expend funds to. A cooperative endeavor, plain and simple. It is still open, Mayor Davis. Alderman, provide that information. Adhere to what the parish attorney spoke to you and told you that we needed. Bring those concerns to the table.
Excuse me.
And we will peruse them and address them in the proper in the proper manner. And it will certainly
Excuse me, point
be
of order, Madam President. I would like to remind for you to remind Commissioner Epperson that his time has expired unless one of our colleagues would like to request to speak and yield their time to Commissioner
ask for extension.
Motion to extend, at least.
Second.
How long you need?
I'm pretty close, but I think
minutes?
everyone else has had a say. I think I should have a say.
Yes, sir.
So, but anyway, what I'm saying is
2 minutes.
I am still open. We are still open. And I adhere to what I have in here. We have contributed funds to that system before, and provided that everything is appropriate, we would do the same thing. But the deal is we need to have the new things that you come about. Give us a proposal, and we'll peruse it, and we'll go from there. So this is not to say that the people on Dawson Road don't want you to have this. Of course, the funds are there, but it's a process that we go through, plain and simple. So I ask for you all to support my measure here. Ask the mayor and his alderman to come back to the table, specific projects on that, and we will address it, and we will entertain this the same as we've done things in the past. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Vice President Epperson. Commissioner Ron Carthen.
Thank you, Madam President. I guess, you know, as I sit here and listen to Commissioner Epperson, several questions that have come to mind. First of all, what are we voting on? That's the first question. Are we looking at a feasibility study? Are we looking at actually voting to ensure that Dawson Road actually happen? The other things that come to mind, how did we come up with the $750,000 in the first place? And I would just like the administration to kind of explain to the public actually about that, because I've had people to ask me, how do you get $750,000 and it doesn't go back to the whatever portion of the budget that it's supposed to go to, and go from there? So those are just some of the questions that I have at this particular time before I actually vote.
I think in your questions, the last two related to, so the $750,000 came from an undedicated source. And because it's not a dedicated fund, you can do a budget amendment to take it from, to change the basic project. We do have to come to the commission to change the scope of a project. So in this instance, the $750 was originally budgeted, and that's why we have $750 for the Greenwood water lines. And now you're simply saying, if you were to vote in affirmative, that you would be taking those funds and putting it towards the Dawson Road extension. Now, as far as doing the road itself, $750,000 wouldn't complete the road. At this time, we would do a study of the road. We would still have to come back to the commission to actually vote for the dollars that it would take to actually complete the road, if that is what the commission so desired.
Okay, I guess the addendum to that is the $750,000 originally, and I remember a portion of the ordinance, but again, what was that to take care of something in its entirety? Because what has been submitted, a question since that time, is not the original that Commissioner Epps put out there. And the thing is that if I'm understanding things correctly, Commissioner Epps wanted the water line to service other communities. And what I hear now is, and I'm giving you the short version, I hear water tower. Am I correct?
Commissioner, the commission appropriated $750,000 for water lines for Greenwood. Now, I don't have information as to what was the total of the project, and did that totally complete the particular project. This finance may have additional information as regards to whether or not that was the completion of the project.
At the time that the original ordinance was passed, it was to extend the water lines down 169, and the 750 was estimated to cover the cost of that.
Okay, thank you. And, you know, and the original question, first of all, until we do a feasibility study, we don't know what it would cost to do to successfully complete Dawson Road. And please hear me, after particularly looking at that picture a few minutes ago, and I remember a couple of constituents coming here also talking about kids couldn't get to school and things of this nature. I'm definitely not against Dawson Road and the people being able to get in and out regardless of the weather at that particular time. But without a feasibility study, we have no idea what it would cost. Am I correct?
The last study we had was but we don't believe that that number would hold up today because of the increase in cost. I think Public Works could probably provide you more information, but we think that that number would exceed that amount.
Okay, so my last question and original question is, what are we voting on today? Are we voting on a feasibility study? And I'll stop right there.
Point of order, is that question to the author?
Yeah, please.
Vice President Everson?
Yes, we're voting on, to take that amount and utilize what is necessary for the, cost analysis. And if there's anything left over, it will be, it can be taken up appropriately somewhere else.
Commissioner Carthen, you still have the floor.
So, and like I said, I'm not gonna get into a debate about this. So 750,000, if we use it for a feasibility study and we find out it costs, I've seen all kind of numbers, but I'm gonna just throw a number out there, 2.5 million. We would have to vote for that as well, am I correct?
Yeah,
That's correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Carthen. Commissioner Roy Burrell?
Yeah, I was trying to still get some clarification, Madam Chair. I remember the $750,000 toward the addition of the water lines, but that was at the point where we actually had estimated it to be 750,000, may even be more than that at this point also, because everything has gone up. But what I'm understanding, what we're doing here is that this allocation will be enough to cover the feasibility study, and whatever's left over will still stay in the project. If the stay in the Dawson Road project, and clearly it's not going to be enough to build the road, so that money will be probably either add to if we decide to support it, or be reallocated somewhere else. But we will have the feasibility study done. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner John Atkins?
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a substitute motion to ordinance 6513 to read, an ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the capital outlay fund to change an appropriation from the construction of Greenwood Road, of Greenwood water lines to the repair and improvement of Greenwood water lines.
Second.
Thank you for the second.
All right, I have let me clear the board here. I have a motion on the floor from Commissioner Atkins, and it was seconded by Commissioner John Paul Young, and I think I heard Commissioner
For the
Mack.
record, do you have that in writing by any chance?
Yes, I'd be happy to reread it, or.
If you'll reread it, that's
Okay.
probably good enough.
An ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the capital outlay fund to change an appropriation from the construction of Greenwood water lines to the repair and improvement of Greenwood water lines. And now that I've,
One second, point of
Point of
order,
order.
because I need to make sure that that's germane to the amendment that's on here, so I'm going to yield to legal before you speak.
Why would it not be germane?
Let's find out.
Well, it said maintenance instead of construction.
Commissioner, I think it would be germane. My question is, are you still trying to address, your change addresses only water lines? It doesn't address anything else.
That's correct.
So you're changing it from the construction and improvement to just the repair of what's there? Is that?
Yes. If I'd been allowed to speak to my motion, I could make these points clearer. And my point is that the initial ordinance is wanting to change from construction and improvement of Greenwood water line to the construction of a road. I'm not interested in the construction of the road. And as we heard from the people of Greenwood, they need repairs more than they need construction of new facilities. So I'm proposing that we take this money that's already in the budget, already been allocated to construction of a new line, and apply them towards repair and improvement of their existing water systems, which I think is their objective.
And point of order, I'm going to.
Point of clarification too,
One
ma'am.
second. Point of order. I just need to make sure that this is different from the ordinance that we're looking at. So I just need to make sure that we're moving forward legally.
It's, Madam Chairman, the legal our legal counsel just told us that it is germane to the topic. I hardly even changed the, 75% of the wording on this ordinance hadn't been changed.
Point of clarification, Madam Chair.
1 second.
It's germane.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay, I'm aware that it's germane, but it's my understanding that the 750,000 when we proposed the ordinance was to extend water line. That's why you was doing construction. So am I understanding that the water lines that we were going to extend has already been built? Now we are maintaining them? That's two different things.
Point of information.
Okay, so we have, Commissioner Atkins still has the floor. I've heard your point to ask for clarification. I will allow the maker of that motion to address your concerns.
Thank you, Madam
And if you have
Chairman.
any other concerns, I would ask commissioners to please get on the board.
I've been on the board.
It's not an option? Parliamentarian, would
It
you
should be an
please?
option now. I'm sorry, when I added the amended motion, I
Thank
believe
you.
it didn't get it
All
to
right,
discussion.
I do see 3 commissioners, two in the queue, as well as our attorney.
Where are we, Madam Chairman? You waiting for me to comment?
Yes.
So, back when the original motion was made, that ordinance 6513 is proposing we change, there had been discussions about building new lines down Highway 169. I was under the impression that the town of Greenwood, before building new lines, they wanted to repair their existing lines to improve the quality of water in their existing system. So that is the objective of my motion, to not build a new water line, but to take the monies that we had allocated to the new water line and apply them to repairing their existing system.
Okay. Thank you. I have Vice President Epperson.
Can I get a point of clarification?
Point of clarification, the chair will recognize your point.
Thank you.
Reclaim Vice President Epperson time. Clerk, when you get back
Madam
to your
Chair, my
seat.
point of clarification wasn't satisfied either. So we
Okay.
can go there.
Commissioner Jones, get your point.
Isn't the complaint the system and not some water lines? So I'm thinking that, I'm just trying to make sure your language is correct.
Well-
So please hear me. Because you keep saying water lines, but I think the complaint is the system and not just some lines that need to be repaired. That needs to be repaired to the system.
You're correct.
So I want to make sure that the correct thing is being amended if that's what your
I'll
goal is.
modify my language to include water lines and associated systems, because that is my objective, Commissioner.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Madam Chair?
And point of clarification?
My point of clarification was when John read his statement there and saying that now we are maintaining lines, what I understood from the original that we put the $750,000 to extend water lines. That's different than maintaining water lines. So we only maintain them if they've already been constructed. That's why you have construction in here. So are we still extending them, or we're just maintaining what's water lines that's already there?
Based on what he just said, you're doing whatever needs to be done to the water lines and the associated systems.
Okay. Your point has been heard. If you need
But
any.
it hasn't been clear.
Okay.
That's okay.
You can get on the
I'm
board,
good.
Commissioner Burrell, if you have
good.
additional questions, okay? Vice President Epperson, and let the record reflect to reclaim your time. It's been on.
That's the issue. Now, they said they want to replace membranes. They want to do water tanks. I got no problem with that. This is what I asked for. Bring us a detailed report as to what you want to do. You stated that this issue was left on the table to you all from the previous administration. And this is what you need to do, what he came down and asked about the other day, and that's what I asked him to do. Plain and simple. So I think that motion is still out of line. I still would say, Mayor and Alderman of Greenwood, come back to us with a comprehensive plan as to what your requests are, and we will entertain them. And I'm going against this so-called amendment,
Substitute motion.
secondary motion, substitute motion.
Commissioner Gregory Young.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm not sure what I initially asked for, was a clarification, but since I wasn't on the board, in the middle of some of this misunderstanding, I wasn't able to make my point. So this is really my issue. Hold on just a second.
Point of order. If you need to step out to talk, you're welcome to step out, but we need to be able to hear. Thank you.
Can he speak in his mic, please? That's all we need to know.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Madam President. Okay, the way I read this ordinance, this proposal today, I don't see anything that we vote, whether we vote for the commissioner's ordinance or whether we vote against it. It's not going to be material to anything that's going on with the water. This is not, we are considering today whether or not to take the money from that project and assign it to a different project. I think that's what we're considering. Somebody tell me if I'm wrong. And so all of this conversation about whether the money should be spent for this iteration of what they want to do in Greenwood, it's irrelevant to this particular item that's on the agenda. The only thing that's on the agenda is whether or not we should take the money from one project and assign it to another project. And now I'm all willing to address the issues with respect to what's going on in Greenwood. But the way this is presented, it's not going to accomplish that. It's not going to accomplish anything if we vote it down. The money is still not going to this project. If we vote for it, of course, it's not going to that project. And I think if someone explained to me that we're actually considering whether or not to give money to provide for this project today, if that's what we're doing here, somebody needs to tell me because I don't see it here before me. That's not what it says. That's not what and so someone please help me with this.
Madam President, would you please clarify the substitute motion for Commissioner Young?
The substitute motion as you have written?
Yes.
The clerk has it.
The substitute motion is an amendment to Ordinance 6513 that would amend the budget of the Capital Outlay Fund to provide funding for the repair and improvement of Greenwood water lines and associated systems.
Okay.
We've changed it.
You still have the floor, Commissioner Young.
Well, see, we're making this more complicated than what it should be. And I think the more prudent way to proceed with this is to deal with one issue at a time. We need to deal with whether or not to sponsor a feasibility study for what he wants to do, and then we can come back and we can address this rather complicated issue with respect to the Greenwood water system. I'm willing to do that. I'm excited about that. There's no life in the universe where there's no water. Water is a very important element to what we want to do. But we'll be here till tomorrow trying to get something done with this issue. If we're going to complicate it, we're trying to solve all of this today. I don't think it's going to happen. I yield back.
Thank you. Commissioner Stephon Jones, you were on the board.
I guess I was trying to get clarity. Commissioner Young brought that up. From what I'm interpreting, if we did not support the measure to move forward, it still would not be able to be allocated to repair the water system as written. So we would have to come back regardless, affirmative or against, to still put an ordinance together to support the repairs to the system that Greenwood needs. So even if we said no today, it still wouldn't satisfy their needs. Am I interpreting that correctly?
Thank you for your point, Commissioner Jones.
Unless a substitute motion were to pass.
Yeah, that's my point.
Okay. I yield.
Thank you. Commissioner Ron Carthen,
Thank you, Madam Chair.
first time on this motion.
I also want to make a substitute motion to move this to the long-range committee. All we're dealing with right now is language, okay? The thing is, again, as someone previously said, up, down, nobody wins, okay? And the thing is, again, once we get the language right, and the thing is that Commissioner Epperson have very clearly stated, if he can get what he needs, we can move forward, okay? So, again, that's my motion at this particular time.
And just to clarify, that is a motion to refer ordinance 6513 to the Long Range Planning Committee. And that's the full motion, right?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure there wasn't any other part to it.
Motion by Commissioner Ron Carthen and second by Commissioner John Paul Young.
One moment, and you will have that in front of you. One sec.
If you would, clear the board.
It will clear automatically in one moment. And there we go. Okay. Was there discussion, or are we ready for a vote?
We have Commissioner Carthen.
Well, let me just say, you know, I can appreciate all the attempts here, but, you know, analysis to paralysis is something that I find very, very problematic with the legislative process. And I just think that what we should do today is go ahead on and address Commissioner Epperson's request to appropriate funds for a feasibility study. The sooner we resolve this, then we can move forward to address the specific needs that these people have in Greenwood. But just delaying, man, I mean, come on now, this is what we're supposed to be doing. I mean, we have discussed this ad nauseum. You know, we need to move forward. And I appreciate everybody's position here. And you all have to forgive me if I get frustrated with this snail stuff. You know, let's you know, everybody know what the issues are. Let's vote on Commissioner Epperson's proposal. And then the sooner we resolve that, then we can deal with that issue and take care of these people. I yield back.
Thank you. Commissioner Ed Lazarus.
I just wanted to point out that this ordinance doesn't mention a study. It mentions construction and improvement of Greenwood water lines to construction of the Dawson Road. Some people are asking about study, but it doesn't mention study. It just mentions construction. Thank you.
Thank you for your point, Commissioner Lazarus. And I do believe that that's the standard protocol to start with the feasibility study.
Yeah, we would need to study to construct the road, so that would be a part of the process.
Thank you. Commissioner Stephon Jones.
Call for the question. Second.
Right. Motion on the floor is to call for the question. Does that pass by acclamation? Yes. No one's against it? Okay, that passes by acclamation. Now, the first motion that is on the floor, Mr. Clerk, if you would, please read that motion to move to long range.
Absolutely. So the motion that is on the floor at this time is to refer item 6513 to the Long Range Planning Committee.
Okay.
And could you clear the speaker queue? Great. Okay, there we go. Okay. And that item fails. I believe it is 6 in favor, 6 in opposition. So we will move to the item before that, which is the substitute motion, which was to amend. This was the motion from
Commissioner
Atkins.
Yes, from Commissioner Atkins. One second, I'm sorry. Okay, this is at the an amendment to Ordinance 6513, amending the budget for the Capital Outlay Fund to provide funding for the repair and improvement of Greenwood water lines and associated systems. Okay, and that motion fails. That is 5 in support, 7 in opposition. And so that brings us now to the original motion, which is to adopt Ordinance 6513 of 2025. Commissioner Cawthorn? Somehow it locked your vote and then it unlocked it. Okay, there we go. That motion carries with 7 in support, 5 in opposition. And that brings us to our next item,
Yes.
which
The chair
is...
recognizes the Vice President, Mr. Clerk.
Once again, I call for Mayor Davis and his council persons to please get with me, give me a comprehensive proposal on what your issues are. And as I have in the past, I will certainly address them in accordance with our policies and procedures. Thank you.
Next item, Mr. Clerk.
Okay, thank you. The next item is, let's see, that's ordinance 6516 of 2025. This is item 14.2 on your agenda. It is an ordinance to close and abandon an unnamed public dedication in the Northwood Hills subdivision located in Section 35, Township 19 North, Range 15 West in the parish of Caddo, and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Commissioner Crackman. It's been moved by Commissioner Stephon Jones, second by Commissioner Chris Crackman. Commissioner Jones, would you like to speak on your motion?
No, ma'am, I yield to the
Commissioner Crackman.
Yes, ma'am, this is just the alleyway between a couple of homes, I believe, where people are walking through and they want to knock that off, that's all it is.
Okay. And you're in support. All right, I see no other commissioners on board. Please vote.
All right, and that motion carries with 12 in support, none in opposition, and brings us to our next item, which is to consider ordinance 6518 of 2025. This is a ordinance amending the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Solid Waste Fund and the Riverboat Fund to provide an additional appropriation for property standards and otherwise provide with respect thereto.
Second.
All right, it's been moved by Commissioner John Paul Young and seconded by Commissioner Victor Thomas. Commissioner John Paul Young, would you like to speak on your motion?
Yes, Madam President, thank you. We've heard a lot about the need for this from so many districts. I hope that we can all support it. All the details are going to be worked out by our incredibly competent administration, led by Ms. Erica Bryant. And I ask for your support. Thank you.
Commissioner Thomas, would you like to speak?
Yes, ma'am. I do think this is a step forward for us addressing not only the blight, but also as we address our war on litter. I understand this to be a first step, and I hope that we all can work forward.
All right.
Thank you, Madam
Commissioner
President.
John Atkins.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I know that the issues in Highland are real. Highland does matter. I know that there are vagrant issues, there are fire issues, there are trash issues, there are dilapidation issues. But by parish law, I don't think it's appropriate for us to be allocating parish monies to inner city challenges. As the chair of the Audit and Finance Committee, I just don't think that's appropriate for us to do. I think it's a slippery slope, and once we get on it, it's hard to get off. The city of Shreveport has $6 million, I believe it is. Is that correct, Commissioner Lazarus? $5.9 million in their property standards budget. I don't really feel like this $100,000 is going to make a big impact when they've got $5.9 million already in their budget for this type of activity. I think it's largely a process-related challenge as more than a money-related challenge. So I appreciate everybody coming down and highlighting this problem, but I'm opposed to allocating parish dollars to the issue. Thank you, Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Atkins. Commissioner Roy Burrell.
Madam Chair, I would follow the line of thinking that Commissioner Atkins would have on this, but having been a city councilman also, I recognize the fact that being on the commission now and having been a city councilman, the people in my district, they don't give a hoot whether you're a commissioner or a councilman if the work is not getting done. So if the city is not going to be able to do it, Or unless maybe John can go talk to the mayor and then get him to put some money in there for us to take care of our constituents, then we're going to have to do something. My question is, since I wasn't able to come to the long range planning commission committee, is it going to be in a grant form, or how will we disperse it?
Commissioner, is that a question for administration?
That'll be fine. Well, I wasn't in the meeting, so somebody can tell me.
Thank you.
I asked the question before.
Well, Commissioner, it wouldn't be a grant form. I would have to get with our team to see what's the best use of this 100,000 in confines with the laws that have been established. Working with the city of Shreveport, working with our legal team, working with our public works department to determine the best way to use the funds. When we make that determination, we can report back to you all as to where we think the best way to go. This would appropriate the dollars that we can use towards that initiative.
So my second question would be, would it go through the city, or would it go to nonprofits, or how would, from that perspective? You don't have that either.
No, I think we would have to analyze what's the best way for us to do it. Is it through the city? Is it through nonprofits?
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Stephon Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm a bit confused. How is it that we can be okay with giving money to Greenwood that's incorporated for their water repair, but we can't be okay with giving money to the city of Shreveport? Someone provide some clarity for me for that, because we were just okay with amending giving $750,000 for water repair. The $100,000 we can't give to the communities that need it. So I'm being as serious as possible. If someone can clear that up for me, I don't plan on moving forward till I hear something.
Can I?
Whoever can answer the question.
But
let me start with that.
Point of clarification. I was in the long range planning committee, and I did hear that the city and the parish were willing to move forward with, be it a cooperative endeavor agreement, but they were willing to sit down and explore options on which ways they can utilize these funds.
Okay, we've talked about that, but how is it legally?
I don't think that the comments were whether or not we could work with the city of Shreveport or work with the Greenwood. We can work with those municipalities on issues and provide funding to those. I think that maybe one of the commissioners raised the question as to whether we should or should not, whether or not it was legal.
Okay, well, maybe I was confused in that regard. Okay, because if it's okay to give Greenwood $750,000, we're okay with the water repair, then we most certainly should be okay with giving $100,000 to the city of Shreveport, whether you feel like it's a drop in the bucket or not. And I've said this before, it's kind of hard to be empathetic towards issues you don't have to deal with every day. But man, some of us are tired. We don't have the luxury of not having to see trash or our homes being burned down or dealing with the blight in our community. And I can't count how many homes that I have in my community where there's blight. Probably the whole west side of Cedar Grove is almost non-existent. When you drive down every street, there are so many abandoned homes in my community. I'm seeing people leave. Some of them have passed away, and the families hadn't done a great job of taking care of the homes, but there are others in my generation that don't want to continue to live in the community because they feel like nothing is ever going to get done. I just don't have the luxury of, as Commissioner Burrell said, of saying, well, that's a city council issue. It's not a commission issue. So if it's okay to advocate for the town of Greenwood, it's okay to advocate, because here again, I don't think anybody has a problem with doing things. We get 7 minutes. When we start getting 3 minutes to talk?
You do. I'm sorry. The timer is inappropriate. Okay. It's only been 3 minutes. You have 4 more minutes. I'm sorry.
He's a Baptist preacher. It's on his second closing. Continue, Commissioner Jones.
Thank you.
Don't upset the preacher.
I'm just saying. I mean, that just doesn't make sense to me. I feel like we have to be consistent with our messaging. I think everybody around here wants to see Greenwood have improvements with their water system. We just want an ordinance that supports what we're actually asking for. That way, if we're gonna allocate the money, it can go towards what it's supposed to. And with any other project that we've asked people to be more specific and detailed with exactly what they're asking us to allocate the money for. Apparently that hasn't been satisfied. I think if we're gonna say that we care and be consistent, we need to do this with these other neighborhoods that are in the city of Shreveport, our largest tax base. And we still can do both things. Both things can be improved. We can improve Greenwood's water system and we can improve the blight and litter in our communities. Both things can be done. And so I think, whether you have to deal with this every day or not, you should be supportive of the citizens who have to live around it because they pay taxes too, just like everybody else. And let's start figuring out more solutions instead of creating more problems because that's what people want. I've said that time and time again, they're not going to take that excuse anymore. And I've stopped blaming my city council person for not answering the phone. And I'm just gonna figure it out. I'm gonna work with whoever I need to work with to get it done. If I have to go knock on Mayor Tom's Arsenault desk, hey, let's get it done, sir. Whatever has to happen. I just wanna make sure that everyone lives in a comfortable place. We can't ask people to stay here and claim that Caddo is growing when we see people moving out every day because we're watching, sitting by idly and not doing anything. That's just not fair. So I'm asking everyone to support this, and let's start moving our parish forward. I yield.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Gregory Young.
Thanks again, Madam President. I guess my question is for the administration.
Okay.
At this current juncture, this proposal is really theoretical, right? We don't really know how it's going to actually be realized. Is that accurate to say? We don't know how we're going to be able to actually make it become a reality. We're facing the statutes that govern what the city will allow us to do, and that's just not clear based on the conversation that the city attorney had with us. Was it Tuesday?
Yes.
Right. It's rather opaque as to how we're going to move forward. Is that safe to say at this point?
Yes, sir. We don't have the definitive details of how we will move forward. However, if you all were to appropriate these dollars, we would make a determination so that we can use the funds.
I'm sorry. I apologize. I didn't hear
I
the
said
last part.
if you all were to appropriate, we don't have a definitive plan today, but if you all were to appropriate the funds, we would determine that and present that to you all.
Right. Right.
But no, we don't have definitive plans at this point in time.
Right. And so where I come from, in my study, I call this a metaphysical concept. I mean, it's just something that we imagine at this point. Whereas in Greenwood, we have more of what I call a physical project, something that's material already. We just need to work out the details.
Commissioner,
And so,
I would say, yes, that is true, but I think that the known is that we do have a problem in relation to our community and vacant homes.
oh yeah, I mean, I realize we have a problem. If anybody thought we didn't have a problem, they didn't witness our meeting on Tuesday, expressed by Commissioner Young. We know we have a problem. I think it's important that we don't oversell what it is we're doing here. We don't really know what the outcome. We have desired outcomes. We don't really know how that's actually going to happen, and that's why it was my suggestion that we kind of model it out to see what the outcome is going to be. But of course, I'm going to support this measure because we need to do something, and I think it's important, consistent with what Commissioner Young has been conveying and what Commissioner Stefan has expressed, that we got to figure out a way to make it happen because, again, I remember in 2011, I was running for Cattle Parish Commission, and one of my fellow employees asked me when I went to her house and knocked on her door, she says, well, why should I vote for a commissioner? This is someone who lives in Shreveport. Why should I even vote for a commissioner? And so I think, that's what some of my good friends around the panel is trying to address. What can we do to make 80% of our constituents feel that we're relevant to them and that we're important to them? And anyways, I yield back.
Thank you, Commissioner Young. Commissioner Grace Ann Blake.
Thank you, Madam President. I just attended the Police Jurors Association for the State of Louisiana Conference, and we discussed the main issues that our parishes are facing: blight, infrastructure, and water. And I think today we've had a conversation where we see that we have a commissioner who's very passionate about his district, a district that's next door to mine. So I see it, I deal with it, and I know that every one of our districts are facing issues very similar. Hearing the needs for the water, something that I learned this past week was that one of the most important things that parishes that are a larger municipality can do is to help the smaller municipalities function. This issue is such a great issue, and it encompasses so many different entities. This is an ordinance issue. This is a mental health issue. This is a crime issue. And this is an issue that's not just dealing with John Paul's district, Commissioner Young's district. Commissioner Jones brought up something: why would we help Greenwood and not the city? It's not about not wanting to help, it's about finding the right path and making sure that we do this in the right manner to make sure that we handle a situation, that we don't just, as commissioners, we are elected, as Commissioner Young stated, to handle these issues. I think what is most important is that we handle this so that all of our constituents' needs are met and that we do it in a responsible manner. And that we're here to make sure that we're first and foremost spending this money appropriately. I would like to make an amendment that this go to long range, that we sit down and we come up with a specific path. Like Commissioner Jones said, we need specifics. And that saying that we're going to use $100,000, well, how are we going to use it? I want it used appropriately. I hear your frustration, but I don't know if this is going to immediately fix anything. And I think that we have to have a plan, and we know that the city of Shreveport came before us and said that they are in process. I think we need to sit down with them and work with them to make sure that we're doing this right, and we find a path that makes sense for all of the constituents in Caddo Parish.
Commissioner Blake, that's your time. However, I heard you made a motion.
Yes.
And if you would like to, you can get back on the board because you've already spoken.
Okay.
Remember, you have to lead with your motion.
Okay. I would like to lead with.
No, get back in the queue.
Thank you.
Okay. The next person I have is Commissioner Ron Carter.
Thank you, Madam President. As I listened to Commissioner Jones and the questions that he asked, from a philosophical perspective, it's real easy to figure out what's going on. We're looking at urban districts versus what I consider to be rural districts. Within the city of Shreveport, we have some very unique challenges that I might not have if I was in a true rural district. But the most important thing is about understanding each other and each other's district. Whether you agree with a person or not makes any difference, but the thing is, again, is that the most important thing is attempt to understand what he or she is attempting to do in their respective districts. And I promise you, anything that we do for our respective districts should be for the good of the order of Caddo Parish. You know, we're talking about accountability, we're talking about good stewardships, and we could just go on and on and on talking about things of this nature. But the most important thing is that each and every one of us have been appointed, have been elected to be here, to do our due diligence, and that's the most important thing. When I leave here, I second guess myself every now and then, but for the most part, the thing is, everything that I do, I have thought about it, I have processed it, and I'm going to ask a million questions about it, okay, to ensure that I actually vote the right way. Whether people agree with me or not, that's neither here nor there. My constituents, who I am primarily responsible to, are pleased with what I'm doing, and I think everybody's seated around this horseshoe as well. But the thing we have to most of all understand, because I don't live up in North Country, I have to, oh God's country, because I don't live up in North Caddo, I still have to understand his plight, you know, about having to come all the way to Shreveport or coming all the way to Uri Drive to want to vote early. So those are the kind of things that we have to kick around. It's real easy, like I said, to just be very stoic and just have one way of thought. But the thing is, the more that we become eclectic in our thinking and our thought process, I promise you, we'll get a lot more done. And the thing is, whether I agree or disagree, the thing is, I'm happy to see that since I've been on this commission, this is the first time that I've seen that we are extending our hand to the city. And I'm looking forward to shaking hands with the city as we continue to go forward, because I think there are some other things that we can do with the city as well. So the most important thing, as you hear me talk about this right now, is that we're getting ready to do something. This is a rude awakening right now, because this is the first time I've seen us extend our hand, like I said before, with monies to assist within the city proper. We've done all kind of things outside of the city of Shreveport. But the thing is, we're getting ready to take off. It might not be but 100,000, okay? But it could have been 500,000, and it matters not who gets the credit. What matters most important to me, because I was born and raised here, and this is not the city I was raised in, okay? And I truly want to see it again before I leave here. And I think everybody here, under the sound of my voice, particularly those that was raised here, want to see the same thing. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Mr. Carter. And let the record reflect, at least since I've been here, with the last 3 administrations of the city of Shreveport, the parish of Caddo has partnered with them in the past. Most recently with the Guaranteed Income Program, which was $500,000. Right. I have Grace Ann Blake.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make an amendment that this go to long-range committee so that we can collectively figure out how to move forward, working with the city and making sure that the funds are appropriately spent.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion. That was I see Commissioner Carthen on the board. That was motion by Commissioner Grace Ann Blake, and it was second by Commissioner John Atkins to move 6518 to Long Range Planning Committee. Did you have any additional comments, Commissioner Blake? No. Okay, Commissioner Atkins? Okay. Commissioner John Paul Young?
Thank you, Madam President. We've already talked about this in that committee, and the role of these commissioners is not to determine day-to-day affairs or write CEAs or write RFPs or determine how money gets spent in particular. What we're supposed to do is decide about broad policy, determine the budget, and then have our administrator do all that stuff, and then we supervise it. And there is nobody up here who is going to come up with a better plan than Erica Bryant. I have laid out 3 possible things that this money might be spent on. Picking up litter, picking up dump sites, and maybe boarding up some houses so they don't get burned down. I don't know which ones of those will be easiest to do, but I bet it'll be the first 2. And Ms. Bryant and our attorney figure out the details, and they can work with nonprofits, and they can work with other governments, but we don't make those choices. we make choices about broad policy and the budget, and then she does that work. That's her job. So I don't see any reason for this to go back to a committee again so that the city can say the same thing to us again. I think what we should do instead is determine we should do something and have Ms. Bryant work out the details, just like every other thing that we do here. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Commissioner Victor Thomas.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to say that I agree with Commissioner John Paul Young. I would like to remind everybody of the words of Commissioner Greg Young. This is participating in the snail process. We've already talked about this in Long Range Planning Committee. Approving this would allow us to be able to have those dollars allocated. Once again, it's the administration's job to make sure the best way possible for us to do that legally and in the best interest of those citizens. Thank you.
Commissioner Ron Carter.
Yes, ma'am, I would like to call for the question.
Okay, second by the chair. Does that pass by acclamation?
Is there, okay, that is
passes
by acclamation?
So our first motion would be to amend to send to 6518 to the Long Range Planning Committee.
Yes, so this is the motion you're voting on now, is to send 6518 to long-range planning. And it looks like I'm waiting on vote. Okay, thank you. And that motion fails, so it brings us to the next item, which is to adopt ordinance 6518 of 2025. Sorry, one moment. There you go. Commissioner Greg Young and Commissioner Blake.
And what are we voting on?
This is the motion to adopt, I'm sorry, this is the motion to
To the original.
adopt it. Yes, however, your screen does say this incorrectly.
Put the wrong information.
Let me edit that for you.
Yeah, restate the
I'm going to clear the board.
Yeah, you probably
Yeah.
cleared it because it had the prior.
I'm doing that right now. Okay, this should be the correct one. 6518 of 2025. This is to adopt it. The motion to send to long range had failed already. And now all votes are locked in, and that motion passes with 8 in support, 4 in opposition. And it moves us to our next item, which is ordinances. We do not have any zoning ordinances for introduction by title. So we'll move forward to standard ordinances for introduction by title, where we do have a number of items today. We have 16.1, which is to introduce ordinance number 6519 of 2025. That's an ordinance declaring certain adjudicated properties to be surplus and to authorize the parish administrator or a designee to sell the parish of Caddo's tax interest in certain surplus adjudicated properties and otherwise provide with respect thereto. That item is in District 3. The next item for introduction is ordinance number 6520 of 2025. That's an ordinance amending the 2024 budget to amend the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Head Start Fund and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. The next item is to introduce ordinance number 6521 of 2025. That's an ordinance amending the 2024 budget to amend the budget of estimated revenues and expenditures for the Housing Choice Voucher Program Fund and to otherwise provide with respect thereto. And the final item for introduction today is to introduce ordinance 6522 of 2025. That's an ordinance to authorize the transfer and acceptance of donation of attractive land and temporary construction servitude and J.N. House to subdivision, that is unit number 3, adjacent to the parish health unit, from Solomon Rental LLC, and otherwise provide with respect thereto. That brings us now to your next item, which is to adopt your work session minutes.
The chair will entertain an in global. Commissioner Carter. All right.
So if I can repeat, and just as a point of order, the items in 19 do not require action. They're purely there to remind y'all of the upcoming deadlines and future considerations. But I believe what I heard was a englobo of all items in sections 17 and 18. Is that correct?
All right. Commissioner John Atkins.
Yes, Madam President. I thought we had already voted on Resolution 4 on the criminalistic laboratory budget. I'm surprised to see that back on the agenda.
You have not, what y'all did is you referred it to the Public Safety Committee, who then reviewed it and made a recommendation to adopt and send it back. So y'all did consider it once on an agenda before, but you forwarded it to a committee for additional review.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Madam President.
Yes, sir. See no other discussion, please vote.
And I'm sorry, Commissioner John Paul Young is out of the
chamber.
And that is.
Point of order, John Paul Young is absent.
And that brings us, that motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition. And that brings you straight to section 20 on your agenda. Under new business, you do have one item to consider, which is an action item requesting and approving relocation assistance for residents impacted by the non-payment of master meters at apartments complexes to include Village Square and Southern Oaks, who are scheduled to lose access to water.
It's moved by the chair. The board is not clear. A second by Jones. Okay. All right, we're clear now.
Should be clear now.
Commissioner Atkins, were you on the board to speak?
Yes, I am.
Okay, it's not, I saw it. but
Thank
it's
you.
on it.
Well,
I'm sorry.
if I may, Madam President, I'm just seeking clarity on this. What does it mean? Is there a budget associated with this? I'm all for helping these people out, but what are we proposing that we do?
Okay, so I will yield to administration to give additional information about this. This is the standard procedure for us to approve additional relocation
Expenditure.
assistance for these residents. This is something that we've done in the past with a lot of the other complexes. They actually apply through the agencies like the Providence House and I think Catholic Charities, but I asked for her to speak and then I'm going to tell you about it. So I'll let Mrs. CEO finish the rest of the statement.
Commissioners, our process in the past has been to work with Providence House or another agencies for these individuals that are impacted to apply. We set a $1,200 limit. They have to meet income requirements and census these specific properties. So the amount in the past, I think for when we did 2 properties last year was $35,000, $34,000. The total we spent for relocation in 2024 was $40,000.
Total
But
expense?
that was the total expense for the year. The budget in this fund is $350,000, but once you determine a purpose, we use a portion of those funds for this particular purpose. This is in the
We think
reserve.
that's illustrative of what we're likely to spend this time, $35,000 to $40,000, something like that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, Madam President.
Thank you. I see no other discussion. Please vote. As soon as we clear the panel. In there, okay.
And that motion carries with 11 in support, none in opposition, and 1 absent. That brings us to communiques and committee reports.
Okay, I see no commissioners on the board. Commissioner, sorry, spoke too soon. Commissioner Thomas.
Thank you, Madam President. I just wanted to take this time to thank those individuals that have stayed in our audience today. It has been communicated over and over again that citizens don't want to stay. I just wanted to point out that this is the business of the parish. And if it takes us to 8 or 9 o'clock tonight to listen to public comments, to listen to individuals coming to the public hearing, that's what we're here for. And guess what? Today there was not a single special resolution done. And our business lasted until almost 7 o'clock p.m. So even if we did do special resolutions, I want to point out that that's what we're here for, if it's till 9 or 10 o'clock. So I just wanted to thank you guys for staying with us. Thank you for sharing your concerns, and thank you for coming and speaking to the Caddo Parish Commission. Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, Commissioner Thomas. Commissioner Grace Ann Blake.
Thank you, Madam President. Just want to let everyone know that this weekend the Crew Centaur rolls, so we will have road closures. Be safe and have fun.
All right. Commissioner Roy Burrell.
All right. Well, I'm going to put this gorilla in. I'm going to put this gorilla in the room right quick. I didn't get a chance to announce before, but there's going to be to the public a national economic boycott on the 28th of February for against anti-DEI. The boycott will be against companies that promote anti-DEI, which is diversity, equity, and inclusion measures, because the DEI are programs that are used to try to help equal the playing field among women, veterans, disabled individuals, and the minority community. Just so happened, and whether we like it or not, our current president has racialized DEI programs as being basically pro-black, which it's not. The National Labor Department stated that those who benefit most from diversity, equity, and inclusion programs included in this order are first, white women, secondly, Hispanics, third, veterans, fourth, disabled individuals, and believe it or not, fifth is white men, and sixth is the minority community. Now, this is not my saying. You can look it up for yourself. The companies that they will be targeting: Target, right now, Walmart, Lowe's, John Deere Tractor, McDonald's, and there will be others. They're asking people to buy local. I think that's all I have on my list. Oh, the second thing, the Hispanic community, since I do have a Hispanic constituency, believe it or not, in my district, they are having a boycott on March 5th against the unlawful deportation of Hispanics, the way I understand it. I got a call from the Hispanic groups. So that's just an announcement, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Burrell. Commissioner Stephon Jones.
Thank you, Madam President. There will be a Juvenile Justice Committee meeting next Wednesday at 11:30, I think we scheduled, Mr. Everson.
Correct.
So if everyone could please come out, if you can make sure Director Randall knows that as well. Next Wednesday at 11:30, and we've got a lot we need to cover.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Vice President Everson.
Had the opportunity to be the guest speaker at two African American history events this weekend. Overton Brooks VA Medical Center was one. We had an overflow crowd, and they were really appreciative of the entrance signs to I-49 North and I-49 South as they enter Caddo Parish. Welcome to Caddo Parish, veteran friendly, and told them that they were part of the inspiration that we put that on that particular sign, because they provide excellent care to our military and veterans from southern Arkansas to East Texas, down to central Louisiana as far as Mississippi. And also get a lot of speaking engagements, and however they do sometimes have gratuity involved, but just want to let everyone know I'm available to speak at any event, whether it's be a student oath of commitment to education that I do for students, and I don't accept no gratuity. However, if gratuity is in their budget, I ask that they would make a check payable to Caddo Community Action Agency, on my behalf. So we thank you all very much.
Commissioner Ron Carter.
Real briefly, I will be speaking tomorrow at the Job Corps for their winter graduation. In addition to that, I had an opportunity to attend a Black History celebration today at A.B. Palmer, which was really unique and very nice to see the elderly, how they put it all together. And lastly, we do have the committee meeting scheduled for next week, and Jeff will be shooting them out to you very shortly. Thank you.
Second time around, Commissioner Burrell.
Just want to remind you of the invitation that I made to the Black History Program at Billsbury Park on tomorrow at noon.
Thank you. See no other commissioners? Commissioner Victor Thomas, second time's around.
I did want to remind the members of the Appropriation Committee to please identify those concerns, those issues, and those changes, and email them to me prior to our next appropriations meeting. I'd like to have those before we set the next meeting so that we'll have items to discuss. Thank you.
Thank you. See no other commissioners on the board to speak. I'll close out by saying again, thank you to our guests who stuck around for our entire meeting on today. We appreciate your feedback. We understand that this is the People's Chamber, and we'll be here as long as it takes to get the business taken care of Caddo Parish. I want to thank my colleagues who joined me at the Police Jury Association on last week for our criminal and juvenile justice meeting. They heard that I was on to speak, and they all showed up. So I appreciate your support in everything that I do. I also want to say thank you to all of those who supported advancing and approving this item for relocation assistance for these residents in Caddo Parish. This is a very important mandate that we have to make sure that we're improving the quality of life of all of our citizens in Caddo Parish, and I know that they appreciate it. I do believe that we heard from at least one person today. And I also want to say to the commissioners that I appreciate you the way that you have been cordial to each other on today. We may not have agreed on every issue. We may have disagreed to agree, but at the end of the day, we are a board who are made up of people who actually care about these citizens. So I think that today has been a very productive day and looking forward to continuing this work. I also want to remind you that next week is the legislative conference. To those of us who will be attending in Washington, D.C., to keep us in your prayers. We are very aware of the airplanes that are literally falling out
don't
of
mention
the sky.
that.
And, but yet we walk by faith and not by sight. I want to wish everyone a happy Mardi Gras, to be safe out here this weekend, all the way up until Fat Tuesday. It's a holiday for us here in Louisiana. So reminding everyone to have a good time, but to stay safe and healthy. If there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'm sorry, just for the record, we don't have any requests for late citizens' comments.
Thank
Just
you,
wanted to make
because
sure we
that
got
was
that
an
on the
item
record.
that was on there before we adjourned. And also, thank you to the commissioners who submitted their names for the youth council.